All right. Is everyone all set to get going?
We are.
Okay, fantastic. I will call the Bristol Selectboard meeting to order on September 14th, 2022. Review agenda for addition, removal, or adjustment of any items. Val, any changes for this evening?
Yes, a few. One is I recommend postponing item number 5.4, which is the joint permit application. That's not ready for this evening. Also, for executive session, to add contract negotiation, if we in fact do go into executive session for the Vermont Bond Bank Council, and also to correct a reference to Efficiency Vermont under consent agenda number 4. It should be building energy and not Efficiency Vermont.
Okay.
That's it
All right. Thank you very much.
for me.
All right. So we're taking out that one. Did you say so for the Vermont Bond Council, there will be no discussion of that, or you want to just have it?
Add reference to contract negotiations under executive session.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Right now, it only references personnel matters.
Okay. Got it. All righty. Okay. All right. Super. Thank you. Let's see. Overview of Zoom meeting operation and procedures. Rules for participation. Please, everyone, mute your microphones that are on Zoom and be recognized by the chair, which is myself, if you wish to speak. Item 2, public forum. Opportunity for anyone to speak. 5 minutes max on a subject that's not on the agenda for this evening.
Is this a place where I can have an announcement?
Sure, absolutely.
I don't know if you can see me.
Well, if you want to come up to the table, then he'll definitely
Oh,
see
can I
you.
go up to the table?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I might as well. Oh, is this the camera? Okay.
I'll just put your name down.
Thank you.
So this is.
All right, floor is yours.
Yes, I'm visiting the meeting tonight. I was saw in the Addison paper that you're going to have the sidewalk study public meeting, and besides that, I am an independent candidate for the Addison Senate race, and I'd like to make that announcement to your community. And I feel that select boards is a way of communicating messages to the voters. So, Mason D. Wade III, I am sort of a new member to the Addison family since my town was redistricted, Rochester. And I do have experience running for Senate races. Today, going through Huntington, talking to folks there, they're shocked that they also have become members of the Addison race with their town. So our community is over 25 towns. And the question is, how does these 40,000 plus voters become educated about the changes in the redistricting and who the candidates are? And thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Anyone else for public forum this evening? Okay,
Ian,
thank you.
Excuse me, I'm just wondering who else is in the room. I can't really see on the camera. I've got, I think, Peeker's arm. That's what.
In where
Yeah,
we
in your
are?
room. Yes.
Mike Winslow, Mason, James Cole, Kevin Harper, Jenny Austin, Chris, Eric, and Chief Mason.
Great, thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's do number 3, department head roundtable. Sharon, let's start with you, town clerk.
Okay. Election materials should be here next week.
And then they'll be sent to everybody as of who was on the voter checklist as of September 9th. So anybody new since then, I will have to send them out. It's possible we will have 2 local election ballots, one for MAUSD and the merger, and the other one possibly the Pine Street water project. So there'll be extra work there. They're doing the water read this week. Bills should go out next week. And then the following week, we plan to do the tax bills to send out. We've got the forms, but we don't have the envelopes yet. So as long as you approve the numbers tonight, we will be doing that. Those are the big items right now. We did, I will say we did have a BCA hearing this today on tax appeal. So that's going on as well.
Okay, super. Any questions for Sharon this evening? Okay, thank you very much. I think the only other person might be Brett from the fire department. Bill?
Oh, good evening, everybody. Thanks, Ian.
Sure.
The only thing I just wanted to report out on tonight, if you will, is just kind of a quick recap of this past Saturday's annual fire department family gathering and recognition and awards event we had at the fire station. It was an absolutely gorgeous day, great food, good company, and 2 of our firefighters received awards that were presented to them at the, well, were supposed to be presented to them at the annual fire state convention down in Bennington this year. However, due to previous commitments, they were unable to attend. So Saturday, we were able to present to firefighter Terry Farr the Vermont State Firefighters Association Firefighter of the Year Award. So these gentlemen, they're nominated by their peers up against other nominees throughout the state of Vermont. So it's quite a recognition. Terry is a 28-year veteran of the fire service. It's a very deserving recognition. And then Captain Matt Lathrop received the Line Officer of the Year Award. Matt is a 27-year veteran of the fire service, both very deserving candidates. So it was really great to be able to recognize them in front of their department on Saturday. And then in addition to that, we had our other standing awards we give out each year for recognition. We give out a training award to the person who does the most training. That award was given to firefighter Anthony Robidoux. We had our Firefighter of the Year Award for our fire department. That award was presented to Caleb Rockwood. And we had our annual, what we call the Outstanding Contributor Award. And that was presented to Lieutenant Adrian Ludka for his work and efforts over the past year. And in addition, we also recognize firefighters for years of service, milestones in their time with the department. We had a couple of 5-year persons who received their pins this year, 5 years of service, firefighter Roy Catella, firefighter Kern Hoff, and Lieutenant Adrian Ludka. We had 2 individuals recognized for 10 years of service, firefighters Carl Zile and Chris Purley. We had 1 15 years of service. That was for our truck captain, Jarrett Kimball. And we had 1 20-year service pin we handed out to Captain Amos Martin. So I just thought that it was worth noting and sharing with the board that we try really hard to recognize our firefighters every year for their unselfish contributions they make to the department and to the community every year. So thank you. That's all I have, pending any questions.
Great. Thank you, Brett. Congratulations to all those guys. Any questions for Brett this evening? All right. Thank you. Looks like we have our town treasurer, Anthony, on with us as well. What's an update from you, Anthony?
Yeah, hi everyone. The biggest update is I just got back from the New England Government Official Financial Officers Association conference. Very beneficial. I've got a lot to unpack with Valerie and a couple other staff members. I made some contacts with the rest of Vermont. We had it was probably the most Vermonters there, according to some of the other Vermont government financial officers on the board. Oh, sorry. That was pretty exciting. There were a lot of vendors there. So we got to see a lot more debt consolidation, and there are a couple new budget and software programs that are being released to municipalities as of this past week. So I've got some information on that as well. So that's what I've been up to for the last couple days, and then the lead up to last week.
All right. Thank you very much. Any questions for Anthony? Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, definitely keep me posted about the budget software. I know that you and I obviously have been investigating that over the last 6 months or so. So if there are more options for us to look at, I'm always interested to take a look at that. All right, let's move on.
Bruce is here.
Bruce
Bruce
Oh,
and
sorry.
Eric are here.
Bruce is there in person. Bruce, police department. Sorry, I almost forgot you.
Nothing new this evening.
That was quick.
All right. There you go. All right. Thank you, Bruce. All right. Let's move on. Wait, Eric's there,
There's
right?
also Eric, yeah.
My shop flipper?
Chris is here too.
Bruce is here too.
And Meredith just rolled in.
And- Yep, Meredith just came in.
Oh, fantastic. It's a full house there tonight. Eric, Highway Department.
We're still working with 3 people. The two other guys are still in class, so work is a little slow right now, trying to get things caught up. We got one truck that just got back on the road. Another truck is down until probably next week. We have a drainage issue on the top of Basin Street that we got to deal with. Sand's almost up. We're probably 2/3 of the way drawn there. Got a couple bidders on the old truck. That's about it.
Okay. Any other questions for Eric? Okay. Thank you, Eric. Meredith, Recreation Department.
This is the first week that we've had Freddie Cannon with us. He's the new recreations coordinator. He's been great. Instantly just really going around town, meeting everybody. He already says he's fallen in love with the job, so that's great. I just got back from our 5-town practice, so that's our rec department race team. We had our first race this last weekend, and we did pretty good. We had 5 kids come in 5th place, so they still get the podium. And then we have a big race at Northeast Kingdom this Saturday, and we have 25 racers.
Wow.
So that's the grades 5th through 12th. So it's pretty exciting. And then dance classes started for the fall session. Gymnastics, we are buttoning that up, but that will be going full steam ahead starting October 1st. And then right now we have hunter safety course upstairs. There's about 50 people taking that class.
Wow.
Yeah, we could tell there's no parking.
All right.
And
thank
Meredith,
you.
there's the Harvest Festival and also the special event with the murder mystery.
Yeah, so that murder mystery is sold out pretty quick. So we have 55 characters. It's based in the 1920s, and there's some surprises that are happening for those folks that signed up for it. I can't talk about it because it's pretty under, top secret. And then, yeah, the Bristol Harvest Fest, September 24th from 10 to 4. We're working on having the trolley from Pat Palmer be able to trolley folks from the rec field, because last year a lot of the feedback was there's no parking. And so we're gonna try to see if that works out.
Okay, fantastic. Lots going on. Any questions from Meredith? All right, thank you, Meredith. And I guess we'll do Chris as well, since he's there.
I'm actually here for a change.
I know, can you
I
give us
put
an
out the
update for
updates.
the zoning?
Yeah, no real major updates. Things are just plowing through. We got a lot of still permits going through. The only real news, I've been in contact, we got another small business that's inquiring about moving a small manufacturing, very small, like 3 to 6 people, but they're looking and working with some folks in town on that, so.
Great, that's excellent. Any questions for Chris? All right, thank you very much, everyone. All right, now we can move on. If I remember to ask everyone to speak. Item 5, public hearing, adoption of an ordinance to regulate traffic and motor vehicle speeds with the town of Bristol. So we've been working on this for a few select board meetings now. Val?
Well, hopefully folks had a chance to review the draft. It's a work in progress draft, apparently. After I posted it and published it, I realized that that section 5.3 regarding the 35-mile-an-hour speed limits really should be combined with section 5.4, and section 5.3 should just go away. And that Lincoln Road and Briggs Hill Road would then become part of that 35-mile-an-hour accumulation. And I highlighted section 5.8 regarding where the signage should be located, just because I was looking for verification on what it says that the speed limit signs should be set at least 200 feet ahead of the point where the speed limit actually takes effect. And I just thought, I was curious about that. So I was wondering if that was standard practice, and if that's something we even need to have in this ordinance. So, and then the other question that I came up with is that if we eliminate section 5.3, are there any other areas or any roads at 30 miles an hour anymore?
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
Upper Notch.
Upper Notch and Meehan there.
Yep.
Those are 30?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, those should be listed then.
Oh, is that bad?
Yeah, so we should make sure that we have the accurate road names under the accurate speed limit.
Upper Notch is 30.
Meehan and Upper Meehan.
Meehan's 30.
Oh my.
And Upper
And
Meehan.
upper are 30.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Jerry did a really nice job of illustrating on a map where the speed limit signs are located within the village area, but not for the town wide. So that's still needs to be sorted out. Any thoughts? Any questions?
I was going to ask, does the board have concerns about 5.8 and that statement? Do we need that in there? Is that just a given knowledge already, or should that be in this new ordinance?
For sign placement, yeah.
And also, is there any concern if East Street becomes 25 miles an hour? Is there any concern about the transition from 25 miles an hour to 40 in Rockydale?
That's not our road.
Right. But it's a sharp transition. There would be warning signs ahead of time where folks would be warned of the upcoming change, but maybe that's adequate.
Yeah, because you do have you're coming up the hill there, and so it's already a strange transition going from 40 to 30 up there. People are usually sort of maybe accelerating a bit to get up the hill, and then you're suddenly it's 30 in once you hit the
It's
top.
30.
Or no, I know, but you're reminded we have our electronic sign there. Yes, you should be going 30 as you go up the hill, but oftentimes that there is that transition and that distance. But I don't know if there's anything we can do about that. I mean, apart from post the signs where the signs already are.
Right. Is it any different than coming in from Moncton Road? We'll run into the same thing there, won't we?
Right, we would, yeah. Going from 40 to 25.
And West Street as well. They're all the same.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess it'll be what it'll be.
Right.
Right.
And part of this too, once hopefully this is implemented, we can have the police department sort of set up their portable speed signs and just maybe pull some data from that when we make the change to see how people are responding to this change. And if indeed, this is one part, I think, of multiple areas that we could look at in terms of speed. I mean, just today I was walking back down Main Street and just walking up, about to hit Mountain Street, and the cars were just zipping in. I mean, I know that at least 2 or 3 were going well over 30. One person was right on the tail of another car. And, so I think we need to do more. This will help, I think, well, this is a start to have it be 25, but I think we also need to look at other things to help us reduce speed in town, because people are still coming in fast, through the downtown.
Could the host make me a co-host so I can share my screen?
While you're doing that, I had one quick question. Let's see, under Article 4, traffic control device, 4.1, where it says it shall be unlawful for any person to disobey the direction of a traffic control device except in the response to the direction of a law enforcement officer. Is it necessary, or should we add anything? Times when the fire department directs traffic, there are times when there are other people that direct traffic as well. I'm thinking events and things like that. Is it necessary to list other people or to word that in a way that encompasses everyone?
Good point.
State law, you can't do that. If you can't override a stop sign or a stoplight, whatever, unless it's a police authority, right, Bruce? So that's the only people that can do that. Even we, as a highway, we can't override the red light or the stop signs. We can set out our traffic control devices and direct traffic after that, but we can't override them.
Interesting.
Right, but because we're being broad with traffic control devices, that seems like that covers both stop signs and something that you might set out, Eric, right? And so, yeah, I think Darla might be onto something in terms of, do we want to broaden that a little bit in terms of either, be more specific with who might do it, or not be specific in terms of law enforcement, so it's open to anyone or whoever might be using those traffic control devices. I mean, we could also be specific and say what those traffic control devices might be.
Statute dictates what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
Right. So.
It overrides that policy anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Val, the traffic control devices, do you know where that came from initially?
The model that I
Okay.
started with.
Okay.
Yeah. Much of this came from the model
Okay.
that was prepared by B-Trans in 2016.
I mean, I guess, traffic control devices is broad. I mean, we think of them as stop signs for the majority, but it could be other things too.
It could be anything. It could be lines, lanes, if we did
Right.
the bike, they're all traffic control devices. I think we don't try to read too much into it.
Me either. You leave it alone.
Well, I wasn't so much concerned about the device as
Who?
direction of law enforcement officer. Is that the part that we should broaden when we do have said fire and other folks at different times. I don't know if it's necessary or not. It's something when I read it that came to the surface for me.
Or emergency management personnel or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There could be a flood, and the road's closed or whatever.
But would they be covered under the statute? They're not gonna be covered under the statute. It's still gonna regulate. Yeah, I was gonna say.
The statute dictates.
So we might want to look at that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that board members were interested in discussing in terms of the draft?
So is there an adjustment pending on that particular question?
I think you're gonna have to look at the statute, Val, but I don't think we can really put anybody in there if the statute says only law enforcement officers.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't mean the fire department can't do it. Most people are gonna listen to them anyway.
Right.
I don't mean to put Mike Winslow on the spot, but I wonder if he has any experience with this. But I will put him on the spot if he has any experience with this.
Have any experience with this? I would defer to the statute, whatever that says. You don't have to regulate beyond that.
Okay.
The reason I wanted to share my screen, and I hope this works, hang on.
Now, while you're sharing your screen, I have a quick question. Has anybody driven north on 116? You know where the speed limit changes, the 50-mile-an-hour speed limit
Sign's
sign?
missing.
Okay, good. It's like, what happened to it? Because now the next sign isn't until Mary's, and it's like, okay, does people think it's 40 miles an hour now from?
They don't drive like it's 40.
Well, I know that, but I went by the other day, I was
It's
like,
been down for
what
10
happened?
months at least.
Yeah, I was like, what happened to the sign?
It's been gone for a while.
Did somebody like take it out or with a vehicle or?
No, I think some kids took it.
Took it.
See, and that's where section 4.2 comes in.
Right.
All right, so it just wasn't me not like thinking it was there and it wasn't there.
We're missing a 30, a 40, and a 50.
50. Oh, nice.
That's 3 that were taken.
Damn kids.
So can
All right.
folks see the map on the screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. The reason I have it up, one, to acknowledge Jerry's good work, but also we talked about South Street being 25 miles an hour to Rounds Road. And I just wanted to verify if that is really intended or whether we should consider putting it at the Hewitt Road Bridge. I'm not very familiar with this stretch of road.
Real narrow stretch of road.
Yeah.
Just
And
want
it's
to affirm
only-
it.
In town down the hill, they coast down the hill and they're doing more than 30 miles an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fine. It's a pretty short distance.
Okay. All right.
It's 100 feet.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So, any
so we-
other thoughts or questions? So after I make these adjustments and clarifications, I recommend that we hold another public hearing on what might be a final document and see what happens.
You want public input on the document itself? Because there are some other issues that need to be addressed through the document itself.
Oh, like what?
In section 5.1, there's 5 errors in the street names and or numbers. You don't call out Hardscrabble Road at all. Meehan Road is missing. So the road naming and identification needs to be very much tightened up quite a bit.
Oh yeah. I'd appreciate your help with that. Anybody's help with that.
Anything else, Chris, that you noticed?
That was the biggie I noticed.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think the changes made on or discussed tonight, make those, and then, as you said, probably the next select board meeting have the third and final hearing.
That would be good.
Okay.
Do you want general input on the philosophy behind it now, or you got that coming up in a little bit?
Philosophy behind what?
Changing the speed limit.
Sure. We're
Yeah,
looking for
now's the
all
time.
we're looking for all input.
Okay, so just being, and anyone who knows me, I'm a tad bit of a stickler for the rules. Just reading statute that we're basing this on and using the document that is referenced actually in tonight's notes, which is the Setting the Speed Limit Guide for the Vermont towns. It calls out some questions on changing the speed limit as far as recommendations that the state made through their documentation. On page 5, in the 4th paragraph, under principles of setting speed limits, they call out specifically, local officials should not set uniform speed limits for all roads and streets, nor should they succumb to the pressure by residents to lower speed limits. The random installation of signs and speed limits can be a detriment to safety, and it continues on there. So that's one concern. When I look at setting the speed limit for all the side streets, we're setting the speed limit at 25 on Lawrence Lane. That just seems a little nutty. There's certain roads with a blanket speed limit. Seems a little, like I said, a little crazy. I also found, when determining the speed section, which is page 9 of the same document, it says towns sometimes tend to set speed limits too low. This merely creates more speeders since the majority of motorists drive speeds they perceive to be safe. Speeds set too slow can also create more and sometimes dangerous passing. Many people will strictly obey speed limits regardless of whether they are too slow for the majority of the other drivers. And the last piece is really when they talk about setting the speed limit, and the statute requires your traffic engineering studies. And have we done that? It's a $1 million question. In the past we have, and the recommendations have been either leave it, heck, there were recommendations at times to raise speed limits on some of our town roads. So where are we on that? Have we done a recent traffic study? Are you basing this decision on a traffic study?
Let me jump in there and invite Mike Winslow to share with us information that he has on a study that was done.
We did do, Bristol asked the Regional Planning Commission to do traffic studies for about 6 of the streets, maybe 2-3 years ago. And I don't remember the results for all of them, but a number of them did support the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. And the other thing with the guidance that you're citing definitely does say that you should not set town-wide speed limits, but it doesn't have any reference to villages. So I think the setting within the village might be a little different. If there are concerns that are specific roads, like Lawrence Road, I don't know it well enough, that it shouldn't be, you might also consider the model that Middlebury has where they have lists of roads with different speeds on them. But the other thing that I heard the last time I was here is that Bristol is accepting that whatever changes they make aren't going to be enforceable for 5 years.
Right, and that's the other piece. I mean, we're knowingly ignoring statute.
But it is in statute that within 5 years that it would be acceptable.
Sort of. I mean, it states that if you're setting the speed limit between 50 and 30, outside of those two windows, between 50 and 35, that you need to have a traffic study completed and your road decisions based on that traffic study. The last piece says that if there was no traffic study done in 5 years, then is then enforceable. So it doesn't say you can circumvent it and ignore it. It said, I don't know what the intent of that is specifically, but it feels odd to intentionally ignore statute to me, who lives in the world of statute.
So Mike, did I hear you correctly to say that a study that was done by the RPC on traffic counts and traffic measurements that however it's calculated did support 25 miles per hour in the village areas on some of those village streets?
We did not conduct traffic studies for every street in the village, so I can't go that far. But for a number of the streets where we did have traffic counts, the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit was supported.
Yeah, and I know that East Street was not one of those streets that was supported. I do know that, because that was the one they recommended raising
Right.
instead of lowering. And that's not gonna happen.
Regard to Lawrence Lane, is there a speed limit posted there right now?
It's a dead-end street that's only about 200 feet long. You can't, I think his point was you can't go that fast on that
Right.
street.
Right, exactly. So I don't see that street being an issue. Are there other streets like that that have the same issue?
Airport Drive? I mean, I don't know if you want to be doing 25 down Airport Drive.
What's its
Right
current speed
now.
limit then?
It's posted at 15.
So you're gonna raise the speed limit to 25 on that road.
It is posted from Stony to.
It's posted when you turn on to Airport Drive.
Just went through there 5 minutes ago. Didn't
Well,
see no
it's been
sign.
there so long,
I didn't see any sign.
Right, there is a sign.
There's a sign.
Okay.
So that's one of those that probably fell into the after 5 years became enforceable. Because I don't think it's listed in our statute now, or ordinance now.
I don't believe it is.
So
Okay, so-
should we add a new section for a 15-mile-an-hour segment and list Airport Drive there, or do we raise it to 25?
I would keep it at
Right.
15.
Look at
I'd
25.
keep it at 15, yeah.
Yeah. So let's add a section for that particular one.
The
Are there
15.
any others that we know about that are 15, or is that the only road in the police district area?
Well, if you're gonna put them under 15, make Lawrence Lane 15.
I mean, another road that just comes to mind, it's two dead-end roads, or ends in two cul-de-sacs as you go down Meadow Lane and Lower Meadow Lane. That's another one where 25 is cooking through there. You're coming into two dead-end roads, so. The blanket 25 is part of a concern of mine, and also just the concept of 25. I guess I don't know the rationale for changing it from 30 to 25. If we have safety data that proves it out, I guess it's fine, but if we don't, we're basing it on gut. I don't know, it's the hard one for me.
I mean, we're basing it on trying to make the village area safer, and reducing speed in your vehicle helps do that.
Part of the problem
there-
is going over 30 before Bruce can do anything now. And if you stop somebody for 31, they're probably great.
Yep.
So if it's changed to 25 and they decide they want 28 before they stop them, you're going to keep them at that 30, which is going to be safer than 35. I think that's my thinking behind it. You're not going to get everybody to do 25, but if you can get everybody to stay 30 or under, then I think it serves the purpose and it accomplishes what we're trying to accomplish.
Mhm.
And you can shoot me now or shoot me later. I don't see you stopping somebody for doing 26 miles an hour.
So with
Richard
regard
Woods,
to
you live on East Street. What's your opinion?
We've got a number of issues. We've got a number of younger drivers in the small hopped up cars that are accelerating very quickly, making a lot of noise, coming down Mountain Street and either turning left or right and really hammering it. They may not be going over the speed limit ultimately, but they come up really fast. And there's a crosswalk there, and we've seen several instances where there have been close calls. Also, I'm always concerned when I see the vehicles coming into town and clearly not slowing down even to 30, and then going into an area where you have diagonal parking, which is, to me, really where you need a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. You probably need a 5. I creep through there. These people are darting out. You're trying to back out. So I definitely support the notion of, from the high school roughly to the Lordsburg Rock, a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. It'll also reduce noise. We've got a terrible noise problem on the street as a result of people accelerating hard, and even the tire noise is louder for every mile per hour faster you go.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. So the other ones that Chris mentioned, the Meadow Lane, do we want to put those in there too, and identify what their current speed limits are?
To put them in the 15-mile-per-hour section?
Well, to first identify, since Chris called them out.
5 would be the maximum safe speed limit. Obviously, if there's a section of roadway where there's curves or it's more narrow and you go over, 20 could be unsafe.
Yeah.
So the speed limit is just the maximum speed limit that we would allow in general. Road conditions could limit how fast you go. And if you go faster than 20, you lose control of your vehicle, you could still get a ticket, even if it says 25 or 30.
Okay. We have a question.
Ian, both
Yep.
Jerry and Sally have their hands up. I just wanted to let you know.
Sally?
I live on Crescent Street, and it's normally pretty quiet, but there are people who seem to use it as a shortcut, and they go roaring up Crescent Street to Mountain Street, probably to avoid waiting at the light in town. I'm not sure. So I would be in favor of, I don't know if a study's been done on Crescent Street, probably not, but I do think people go up and down too fast who do not actually live on the street. The other thing is, on Fridays, my husband and I frequently see a Casella truck, a garbage truck, reversing at some speed down Crescent Street, sometimes reversing up the street. I just feel that a large vehicle like that, it would be too easy for a child or a dog to not be seen. And I haven't complained to the police, probably I should, but I think that should not be allowed.
Okay. Thank you, Sally. Jerry?
There we go. I was talking about Meadow Lane. There is no, speed limit sign on Meadow Lane. There is a sign on Deveno Lane after you turn off of North Street. And I agree with Richard Butts there. Those loud kids' cars, which we all had when I was a kid, are continuing down Mountain Street, down Deveno Lane, down the curve, and coming quite fast down the hill to the traffic stop sign. There are no really any speed limit signs on any of the side streets other than Deveno Lane. They're all on the main streets.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Jerry.
Ian, Linda had her hand up too, I think.
Linda?
Yes, I live on West Street, and I agree with the gentleman that was just speaking on, I believe he is down on East Street. West Street is like a racetrack. I mean, they fly by our house, and it's 30 right now, but 25 would probably help it a lot. I'm just, like in the summertime when the creamy stand is open, it's an accident waiting to happen. And I'm surprised more people haven't gotten hurt. And the traffic that's coming out of Maple Fields, they squeal their tires. And again, the loudness of some of these cars, their mufflers especially. If I have company on my porch, we can't even carry on a conversation because it's so loud, but it's basically the speed. And so I'm really happy that you're considering taking and lowering the speed limit through here. You're not going to even stop people from going that speed limit, but at least if you can have some signage and some alertness before they start coming into town from the west. Anything will be of help.
Okay. Thank you, Linda.
Just have one quick question.
Yep, Chris.
During that 5-year period, we posted at 25, but we only enforce it at 30. Is that how that works? Yes. Okay.
Or he could write the ticket, but if they protest it, it's thrown out, right?
Okay. Any other discussion on this?
I got a text here from a person. The lowest you can post a road is 25 miles an hour by statute. It's titled 23 VSA 1007B. Speed limits cannot be posted under 25 miles an hour. So that's why I questioned the one at Airport Drive.
Interesting. Huh.
There are schools that are at.
Could be a
20.
school zone, but it don't, right.
So places like Meadow Lane and those other short streets, Lawrence Lane.
Right.
I mean, he's given the title, section, state statute. So I'm just reading what I was told here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I just texted it here.
Yeah, I guess if you can't do that, Meadow Lane is 25, or sorry, is 30 at the moment. And we're just hoping that people aren't going 30 miles an hour down that road.
We lowered it to 25. Right now, they can do 30 down that road, and they can do 30 down Library Lane. Not very long. As Peter said, it's only about 200 feet long.
Right. Okay.
If you like, I found the traffic studies that I did in 2020, and I could read off what they support. Liberty Street, 35, Maple Street, 25, Mountain Street, 25, North Street, 25, Pine Street, 25, Plank Road, 40, Pleasant Street, 25, and Taylor Ave, 20.
Wow. Now in this proposal, Plank Road is proposed to be 25 to Burpee Road.
35 for Liberty Street. Jeez, there.
You know, that's just based on the numbers. You can adjust those numbers a little bit based on the houses around and things like that, but just looking at what drivers are currently doing, that's the 85th percentile for them.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Mike. All right. Any further discussion before we move on?
Well, Valerie did raise the point, and we didn't talk about Plank. We talked about doing Plank Road all the way to Burpee. Is that still our intent?
To make it what?
25. That was Valerie's question.
It's 35 now.
And most people do 50. That's why it was.
Right.
That's why this. Oh, yes.
40.
Yeah, well,
I
that's the 85th percentile. So
right,
85% of the people are going that fast. Some of them are going faster to get it there.
Right.
It feels like this is an opportunity for us to be proactive instead of reactive, you know, when something horrible happens. So I support it staying or being a change to 25.
Okay. Yep, I support that too. I'm fine with that.
35.
I don't think I'm really on the
It's
25 the whole
30
way.
until you get to Hayes or J Drive.
Right.
And then
support
it's
Then
what?
it changes to 35.
I support that.
And,
Continue to stay that. 30
30
to J Drive and then
Right.
35.
35.
And then it changes 35. I don't.
What do you
25
supporting, Joel?
all the way.
Leave it the way it is right now
35
at J Drive.
at J Drive. It goes up to 35
Yes.
J Drive.
So it's 30 from north to J Drive and then 35 from J Drive to Burpee Road.
Yep.
Wait, hold on. It would be 25 to J
No,
Drive.
that's not what we're saying. We're saying what it currently is 30 to 35, and Joel and I both said we're happy to leave it at that and not change it to 20.
Plank Road is narrow and fast there, and there's a lot of houses. There's a lot more walkers at the apartment houses there.
Right, and that was part of the reason why we're thinking about keep having it set to 25
I would
because
say
of the amount of walking.
that we go 25 and 30. If you 25 where it's 30 now and 30 where it's 35.
I mean, if we're concerned about pedestrians on Plank Road, it would make more sense to do a safer walking route, i.e. a sidewalk through there, than it would be to lower a speed limit that you may or may not do any good.
Where are we on Plank Road?
From North to J Drive.
Right. So we're saying north from North Street to J Drive
Is what?
would be 25, and then from J Drive to Burpee would be 30.
Okay.
I don't agree with that. I just don't, I think 30 is, I mean, I run that road, I've never had a problem. I don't even see people walking it as much as you do, but yeah, I mean, you're there.
No, all you gotta do is ask my father, he watches them all day long.
So we need to get him something to do.
Yeah, well, that's what he does.
I mean, it's got, I mean, having walked on that road, I mean, it's got decent visibility from a pedestrian standpoint. I don't know.
But in other towns that are bigger than ours or even smaller than ours, maybe the planning commission or the zoning board would have taken care of that with a 12-unit apartment house down there, required a sidewalk down to it. But now it's built, and now it's put back onto the town to build that.
Yeah, but the other side of that is, where does that sidewalk go?
Right.
Are you gonna
Exactly.
are you gonna take my property to put that sidewalk on, or are you gonna put it on
No,
yours?
I agree. That's the problem we're going to have on Pine Street. Because Pine Street from Maples West is only 2 rod road.
I personally am fine with a 25 and a 30. I don't feel that inconveniences motor vehicles all that much from 35. It's still in our old village area. And the main reason for this is to have traffic be slower in this area where people walk, and to make things safer. Yeah, and I agree with Chris. I think a sidewalk, if it is highly used, is a good idea, but this is something we can do now. This is something that doesn't cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to implement. And we hope that this will keep people safer in our town. And we're sort of following on with a lot of towns surrounding us that have 25-mile-an-hour speed limits on a lot of their walkable streets.
And there again, changing that speed limit to 30 from J Drive out to Burpee. Right now, they're doing 40, so they're doing 5 over. If you change it to 30 and they do 35, you have essentially helped the situation.
Yeah.
From a law standpoint, you do. From a realistic driver standpoint, the driver studies show that people typically drive what they perceive as the safe speed for a road. And that's called out in the same document that the state put out. If the perception is you're going to do 50 on that road, you're going to do 50. Most people drive at what they perceive as safe. Well, yes, we can then enforce it and catch a few folks and ticket a few folks. If the problem is that people are doing 50 miles an hour down Plank Road, then it should be addressed also in how do you calm traffic more than try to do it with arbitrary speed. I mean, the studies don't support it.
The studies didn't support it in the 70s when they changed it from 40 from 116 to the Moncton line. And the reason they did it was because traffic had to be going over. The state police said that traffic had to be going over 50 before you could stop them, and that they wouldn't, unless there was an issue, they wouldn't stop them up until 50, but it gave them the option to do it if something was going on. And I think that's, I'm trying to stop short of saying there's some wiggle room in speed limits, but that's what, I guess that's ultimately what I'm saying, is that they're not gonna stop somebody who's doing a couple miles an hour over the speed limit unless it gives you probable cause to do it, right?
Unless there's other, if there's people in the area, pedestrians, people on bikes, and they should be going slower, and they're a couple of miles over the speed limit, yes, I'll stop. Otherwise, if they're by themselves, I might flash the headlights at them just to let them know they're going a little fast. Yet, we're not stopping everybody if they go 1 mile an hour over the speed limit. It would probably be limited.
Ticket books would cost us.
Okay, so we have Peter and myself are interested in the 25, then changing to 30. I know that it seems like Joel and Michelle were for keeping it as 35. Darla, your thoughts?
As I said before, I think this is an opportunity for us to be proactive, and I support the 25-30.
Okay.
I could support 25-35, but not 25-30. 30 down J Drive to Burpee Road is, to me, it's the farm tractors go faster than that down through there. And that's not picking on, that's not picking on the
Farm
hill.
tractors aren't controlled by the speed limits.
But that's not picking on the hills either. But I think J Drive to Burpee Road warrants 35 miles an hour.
I don't know, there's that corner there in front of Jerry Ute's house. And then there's the knoll just before you get to the cemetery there.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, I cringe whenever there's somebody on a bicycle and I'm coming up to that knoll. I wait for them to go over the knoll because I can't see. But, you know, I just don't feel that road warrants that kind of speed if we're making these changes.
Okay. All right. So Val, thoughts? You want to put that down? The 25-30 in the document, call that out, and then we will keep on with the discussion at the next meeting.
Will do.
Okay. Anything else before we wrap this up? Okay, thank you very much. Item 5, consent agenda. So we have, hang on, I gotta get down the list here. 6 items to approve. Request for the Stampede 2.0 Walkathon 5K run, Sunday, October 2nd. Approve VTUM's recommendation to amend the Bristol water use ordinance to add a new $25 fee for an inaccessible touchpad. Approve a minor adjustment to the FY 2023 municipal tax rate. Approve the use of capital building reserved fund for $600 for the Energy Committee's request for an energy audit to be conducted for the Lawrence Memorial Library. And $750 for the Preservation Trust of Vermont's assistance to conduct building assessments for Lawrence Memorial Library and Holly Hall. Number 5, approve a water connection application at 73 Maple Street for the Cosserts. And number 6, approve a curb cut application for 73 Maple Street. Any questions from, sorry, Val?
I was going to say that I used the term approximately in the assessment request because those were estimates. We don't really know exactly how much is going to come in. So that's I used approximately.
Okay. Peter?
The curb cut and the water connection with the conditions listed.
Yes. Yeah, and those are listed in the in our Val's notes and the agenda.
And on the agenda.
Yeah.
Bruce, you may know the answer to this, but in Benita's email, she was given the directions of where the walkathon is going. Once they turn on left street, it says then they say turn left on Mountain and then turn left back to North. Does that mean they're going all the way up Pleasant, up Spring to Mountain and down Devon Lane back to North? Is that?
I don't remember the route.
Chris is shaking.
I believe that's what it was.
Okay. All right. And the Cosarts, that's Maple Street with a new.
Yeah, that's the law.
Brand new foundation.
The brand new foundation?
Yeah,
Okay.
just past.
Right next to Wallaberties.
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion. Second?
Question on 5 bullet 3, because of this new tap and water main. Is that in our ordinance, a 2-week notice? I didn't think it was that long. That was 48 hours.
It is to hook on, but this 48 hours because VTUMS has to do the connection to the main. I believe.
And they need to hire an appropriate person to do it.
I get all that, but is that in our ordinance that we'd give 2-week notice? I want to make sure we're going by the ordinance.
Well, our
The
ordinance
new
can
ordinance
say
would-
one thing, but if we
spell out a special
operator says
condition.
2 weeks
Yeah.
because their schedule is such that they can't get there, we can put that condition in.
It's no different than cutting the one limb on the tree in the next one.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's a special condition for this permit.
So the road foreman couldn't approve that until that one tree's cut, one tree limb or.
Right. They wouldn't get their CO until everything was done.
Yeah. Okay. Michelle, did you second that?
Yes, it did.
Okay. So we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the consent agenda?
Number 2, that's going to be every quarter. You got an accessible touchpad. Let's just,
They don't fix it, yeah.
what's the definition of an acceptable? I can't reach it because.
Inaccessible, yeah, the
Accessible, okay, I can't reach it because there's a window in front of it, or I can't reach it because a rose bush is in front of it, and I don't want to get bit up with my shorts on to go in and read the meter.
whatever it is, yeah, the property owner needs to address it.
Pretty wide.
Well, what they've talked about in the past is there, was there a dog? Was there a bush? Or construction material in the way? Those are the types of things that they've pointed out to us in the past.
Right. And if you look on the in that document that details this, we have a little flyer that goes out to Water District users. It says touchpad must be clear of garbage, plants, building materials, vehicles, etc., and easily accessible, i.e. not behind an obstruction or inside of an enclosed area. So that's the guidance for accessible, and so everything else outside of that I would think is inaccessible.
So I would recommend that, this is just my input on that, would be to create a definition in your water policy of exactly that, so that there is no ambiguity.
Okay. So Chris, detail what I just described as what they described as clear of and easily accessible.
Yeah, basically, the verbiage you use would be a fair definition, where it's clear of garbage, debris, not in a, because if it's not defined.
Makes it hard to make an argument for it. Got it. Okay.
They're going to be putting, from what the email, they're going to be putting notices on the door this time of all those that are inaccessible, so they'll be.
I'm just thinking, I'll just give you, for instance, you're down on the back of Main Street and you're living in an apartment and you work nights and you sleep days and you back your car up along the side and it's tight parking and they can't get between you and your car and the building where the touchpad is. That's a $25 fine.
I think you have to park pretty close to the touchpad. I would.
We've had, I was gonna say, we had to send a letter to someone who put up a double fence and you can't get the gun in between the wire fences to take the reading. We have people who have painted them because they don't like that they're black. So you can't find them that way either. Or like I said, there's been plants, people put stuff in front of them because they don't want people to see them.
So
someone put their firewood there, I believe, another instance for the winter.
Yeah.
They stacked it all up.
So Sharon, if someone paints theirs, does it give you a reading or not?
It'll give you a reading, but you have to know where it is. We've got one just down the street here, 4 or 5 houses down. They painted it and put flowers in front of it because they didn't like that it was black. They wanted it the same color as the building. So unless you know where it is, you aren't going to find it.
In other words, they tried to hide it.
They tried to hide it, just like
accessible.
people tried to hide underground above ground transformers. They put so much dirt in there that they're covered up and then complain when GMP can't find it to fix it because it broke. I mean, it's the same with anything for the utilities. People try to hide them and then they don't like it when you have to dig them up or tell them they have to leave it the way it is.
So given that, can a water user, are they allowed to paint it or to make it look nicer, or are
No,
we
we
forbidding
want them
that?
to leave it black. Because, you know, right now, Brittany, one of the new, actually Jill and Cyrus's daughter-in-law, is doing the read this week.
Yep.
And if she doesn't know where they are, you know, it takes a lot longer to do the read. And if you can't find them because they're not black the way they're supposed to be, so you can see the touchpad. And there are some that are in weird places. We have some that are behind locked fences. And you have to get the key. The people want to be there when they're red. So.
Okay. All right. So building on Chris's suggestion, we should probably have that those specifics in our water ordinance doc.
Well, at the moment, it would be a bit cumbersome to add that specifically to the ordinance because that has to go through that whole publication process and posting. But we can clarify it on this fee sheet where we're talking about it, and put more of a definition here.
Okay.
You say such as, but not limited to.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
And this is part of the ordinance, and these appendices are intended to be adaptable and updatable without having to go through the entire posting and publication process.
Okay. Jerry, you had a question?
Yeah. I'm admitting I was one of those guys that painted it. I didn't know what it was when I first moved here. So can I spray paint it or paint it black over it? Will it still be able to read it?
I believe so.
You want it's painted now? You want to bring it back to what it should be?
It's painted the same as the house. I mean, I've never had a note saying they couldn't read it or couldn't find it.
Yet.
But right, yeah. But like I said, when I first moved there, I knew it was something, but I didn't know what it was. So I painted it. You know, I was painting the house and painting it. So I'm glad to paint it black again, but I just want to make sure you can read it if I give it another coat of paint.
Good thing you didn't just rip it off the building, Jerry.
Yeah, you're right.
I might suggest just leaving it as it is until such time as you're notified that it can't be found, perhaps.
Yeah, that's
apparently it's been working.
Hey, I've got to get, what's the technical word for it? What is it called?
The touchpad.
Touchpad. I'll put a little sign over it. I'll label it with my label maker.
Jerry, just put a big neon
touchpad.
Touchpad. Yeah. There you go. All right.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Jerry.
With a solar light, Jerry. We'd like a solar light on that too.
Okay. You got it. You got it.
Okay. So if we're okay with adding that verbiage into the fees document, then let's go ahead and do that, I would say.
Yeah, Chris has a question.
Chris.
Is there wiggle room for like a warning for the first time that it's an offense, or are we just slapping $25?
No, the notice is going out that says after December 30th of
I get it.
2022.
So a year from now, new home buyer, Jerry's a great example, buys a home, it already has a touchpad on it, they repaint their house, they don't know what the thing is, they paint over it, we're gonna ding them $25 without giving them a warning, they plant a hedge in front of it. Everyone today will understand it, but going forward, how do you make, is there a warning process? There's not in this, you just ding them $25?
My guess is that Jill and Cyrus will know it's a new owner and will probably give them a warning. That's just my thought.
I feel like there was a conversation where they said that's what they do now. Does anyone else recall that? I feel like there was a conversation.
You have it in your animal ordinance that the first time for offenses is a warning.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna be consistent.
Yeah, that's my suggestion, just add something along those lines.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, we're not trying to make money from this. We don't want to fine people, but it is an inconvenience when you're looking at hundreds of these and there's a certain percentage that aren't accessible for whatever reason. But I think it's fine to give someone a warning, especially if it's new and they aren't familiar with it, and educate the public. I think that's our first step.
Well, also, the town could be losing revenue through this because the bill then is not getting an accurate accounting, and so it takes the average of the previous 4 water bills, which might not represent what the actual use is.
I mean, it'll eventually catch up though when it's read. If it's skipped on one read, the next time it's read and it's found, then it would
Good
average
point.
out. It would average out over time. It would just be that the property owner might receive a larger bill for that second or first or second quarter.
Got it.
But I'm fine with adding in warning verbiage. I think that's fine, and I think VTOMS, as people have said, already does that and isn't looking to.
No, I think they're looking for the
Fine
one
people.
that time after time they have to deal with
Yes.
not being able to get to them.
Okay. Any other questions for the consent agenda?
I have a question. This is Deb Cassart. Sorry, I'm not on the video.
That's okay. Hi, Deb.
Hi. We have a question about the 2-week notification on that permit. Do we have to notify the water people 2 weeks from now? Or when our contractor talked to the water people, did that count as the notification?
2 weeks, or at least before the intended installation.
Well, they were gonna come next week because assuming that the permit would get approved tonight. So they're not allowed to do it until they've notified them? If we notify them tomorrow, we have to wait another 2 weeks?
The point is that they need to set up a professional person to make the tap on the water main, and they need to be given time to be able to do that. They might be able to turn it around in a day, but they might not.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
I just didn't
it's
know.
to allow them enough time to be able to track down somebody who's available to make the tap. It's a very limited skill set.
Yeah. I'm sure. Okay, thank you. That clarifies it.
You're welcome.
I believe your contractor's already working with Cyrus.
Yeah, they're
Okay, yeah, I thought they did talk to each other about it.
they're pretty sharp guys.
Right. All right. Thanks, Deb.
All right.
All right. Any other questions on the consent agenda? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. All those against, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Item 6, regular business. Number 1, introduction of firefighter candidates. James Cole, Randy Desorda, with Fire Chief Brett LaRose.
And they are here.
Fantastic.
Come on up. Yeah, all of you.
Call me? You're right. Hello, good evening again. So Brett LaRose, Fire Chief, Town of Bristol. I'm here this evening with Fire Department candidates Randy Desorda and James Cole. These two gentlemen have been through our 6-step recruitment process, so they have been vetted, background checks, all that stuff, reference checks. And they are here tonight for your consideration of appointment to the Town of Bristol Fire Department. Randy does come to us from the town of Brandon in their fire department with 5 years of experience and a certification, which is wonderful. And James Cole comes to us from Nevada. Yep. Right. Got it right. All right. Nevada. And we'll get him enrolled in training ASAP. But they're here again this evening for your consideration and any questions that you might have.
Great. Good evening. Any questions from the board?
Randy,
Question?
you're living in Bristol now?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He has to be, or Brett wouldn't even
Oh.
consider him. He's another stickler for the rules. I make a motion, we accept the 2 candidates for the fire department. Second.
Okay, we have a motion in 2 seconds. Any further discussion?
Just a thank you for volunteering.
Yes, thank you. All right, all those in favor, say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion carries. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. And if I may just take another 2 minutes probably. I think it was noted on the agenda, but I have brought with me this evening the fire department's historic signature book. So every person who's ever volunteered at the Bristol Fire Department's name resides in this book. And these 2 gentlemen will be number 333 and 334. So if you folks are all right with it, I'm going to have these 2 young men put their signatures on this page. Yeah, I can't prepare it. I took it out ahead of time. Watch me flop it all around. So actually, Randy, I'm going to start with you, if you would please. Just sign that name. Don't worry about the date. I'll take care of that.
Are you still doing the pre-employment physical?
Yes.
And the cancer screening?
We don't do cancer screening. We don't, never have.
Should probably think about it to be eligible for,
thank you.
For workers' comp.
James?
Randy, who are your parents?
Tim and Bethel.
Part of the family.
Thank you, James.
Bethel's my cousin.
That's
my time. What other days?
And if I may, just as I'm here this evening to bring on a couple new part-time employees for the town, thank you, by the way. But I don't know, I think I was talking to Bruce maybe about this last week. What I would find helpful as a department head, especially, the frequency we onboard people. I put together a packet for each new candidate that includes the town's personnel policy manual, the signature page, the W-4s, the healthcare, 10 other forms that you got to sign. But there's the background piece, and I didn't know if the town, if we had any standard practice, a packet we hand new employees when they come on board. That would help me out administratively to not have to do this each and every time. It's a lot of work. So I put that out there. If we don't have anything, and as far as the background checks, to what extent, fingerprints, is that a requirement? It never has been for the fire department. But putting processes in place, standardize that onboarding process. I mean, it is standardized as far as the fire department is concerned, but it just seems like it would make more sense to do it across all our disciplines.
Yeah, I can jump in there. I have all those forms except for the background check ones. But the rest of the forms, whenever we get a new employee, I usually print them all and hand them a packet.
So in other words, all I got to do is ask you, Sharon.
Yes.
Okay.
like so many things. Sharon usually has the answer. So.
And they would vary depending on the employee because we also include the job description.
Right.
Okay.
And there's a couple different ones for full-time as compared to part-time. So,
okay.
And if you have a couple of special forms that you use, I can just put them in so that we have them for anybody that's coming on board for the fire department.
Really, the only thing I think it's different that we have are the beneficiary forms specific to the
Right.
fire service.
Right.
So, but okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Porter has a comment in the.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Porter mentioned in the chat, she said this would, Brett's suggestion for part-time employees and employees would also, can that apply to volunteers? Be helpful if people who volunteer on town committees got some basic info about the town and the process of decision-making, their job description on the committee. Does that already exist? And I can say that doesn't exist yet, but that is something that should be created. I think that would be very useful.
Right. And I think fingerprints are only required for those who deal with vulnerable populations, elderly or young people.
Right. Yeah, but I think, Porter, thank you. That's a good suggestion. I think that's something that the town should work on. Okay. All right. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, James. Thank you, Randy. Let's move on. Where are we here? Okay. Regular business, item 2, Airport Drive Sidewalk Scoping Study Alternatives Public Meeting with Jenny Austin from Du Bois King.
Yes, and Jenny is there at the town office tonight, and she shared with me an updated version, slightly updated copy of her presentation. I don't know if she needs me to share it on the screen or if she would like to share it on the screen.
I have my computer here and I have the files here, but if you have it on your, if you have it,
then it'll work for the Zoom.
Easier.
It'd be good for you to control how the pace of how you want it to go. So maybe the host can make you a co-host.
She's not logged in. I don't think she's connected.
Right.
In.
I think
She's
I'm
there in person, but
connected. I don't know how fast or slow it is. I can do
Okay.
it however you guys want to do it.
I'll go ahead and track it down. But if you want to get started with any kind of introduction while I track it down.
Yeah, so I think Valerie kind of introduced the project, the Airport Drive Sidewalk Scoping Study. I was here virtually probably about a month ago. I think a lot of the faces here are familiar from that meeting. There's probably a few others that weren't here. So essentially we're doing a scoping study along Airport Drive to come up with some potential alternatives for a sidewalk facility. This project is funded through the ACRPC, so we've been working with Valerie and Mike Winslow on this, and also been in coordination mostly via email with some of the adjacent landowners, the school and American Legion, and some other folks have been invited to all of our public meetings that we've been having.
Can you see the presentation?
Yep.
Okay.
You do a yeah, there you go, like a fit screen. If you want to, there we go. It's kind of cut off on the side. If you want to go to the second slide. So this is similar to the presentation we did last week. So we'll kind of go quickly through the first slides here to get into the alternatives. So this is essentially the process that we've been going through. We've had a couple meetings along the way, the kickoff meeting and the local concerns. This is our last meeting here at the town for this project, the project alternatives meeting, and we'll be having one last meeting at the RPC TAC next week for this project. I'm gonna scroll down. Next slide, Valerie. So went through this at the last meetings, but just to kind of went through this already. We're doing a scoping study for a sidewalk project, looking into different alternatives and doing some evaluations and presenting some information about them tonight. Next slide. So we started off at the kickoff meeting, which included myself, the town, RPC, and at the time was actually from the V-Trans district, or no, I'm sorry, that is the wrong information. That's a different project. You can just ignore that. And at this meeting, we reviewed the overall project, the project area limits, the schedule, and some general information about the area and landowners. Next slide. So the first thing that we did was went out, kind of documented the existing conditions. As you can see, there's a lot of pedestrian heavy uses in the project area, with especially the school nearby, the hub, and the American Legion. There's the sidewalk at the southern end of the project that we're looking to connect in to really just overall improve the walkability around the town. And obviously there's a lot of foot traffic going up to the high school, and there's a path on the north side of the field there that we're looking to connect in as part of this. Next slide. So it's that part of this project to kind of get a better handle of what's out there now to help kind of aid in what alternatives to come up with. Kind of took some notes of what's out there now, what sort of constraints and opportunities there are. I'm sure you're all familiar with the project area. There's the school that's located on the north side, and there's the gate that kind of leads into the school. Popping up to read Ian's note there. There's some striped parking on the west side, so it's something that I know that's important to the school to maintain access to. And then there's some other constraints on the east side. There's a couple fences and a hydrant, and just kind of really general characteristics of being in a village. One of the things that we took a look at that we don't necessarily always took a look at, but was something that the town was interested in, and we talked about a great deal at the last meeting, was the right-of-way. So we did sort of a standard right-of-way research, which goes back 40 years. And what we found in that was that there was no documentation of the town actually owning the road. We talked about this at the last meeting. The town maintains the road, and you know, it's likely that if we moved forward with this, that, you know, there are some steps where you know, the town could sort of, you know, stake claim due to that. And Valerie had also mentioned that there's, I believe it was a former lister that had some documentation that we haven't quite tracked down. So that is something that kind of in the next phase of the project, if it went into design, would need a little bit more flushing out. But we do have some research that we'll be including in the study.
The term would be dedication by acquiescence, where the town has assumed maintenance and responsibility for that particular stretch of road, and it's also identified on the town highway map. So at some point, it was communicated to VTrans that it has become a town highway.
And I believe, as we talked at the last meeting, there was a belief that it was town to own up to the high school gate, and then past that was owned by the school.
Mm-hmm. I believe school officials understand that as well, or at least understand it to be true.
Next slide. So the last meeting was the local concerns meeting. So essentially this slide prior is what we introduced at the last meeting. Just kind of talked about the project area and got some general input for the project and what folks might be interested in. At that time, it seemed like there's general preference for a sidewalk on the east side of the road. The parking is a bit of a constraint on the west side of the road, wanting to maintain that, and there is some room on the east side of the road. Next slide. So following the last meeting, the local concerns meeting, came up with some alternatives for sidewalks along Airport Drive and vetted those through the town and the RPC. So what you'll see is there's essentially 3 alternatives that we've come up with. So one would be a curb sidewalk on the east side of the road. 2 would be a sidewalk with a grass strip between the road and the sidewalk. And then the third, which someone had actually mentioned here at the last meeting that we're taking a look at, would be a sidewalk with a grass strip on the east side, but also shifting the road to the west about 3 feet to make some more room on the east side. So there's essentially 3 alternatives that we're showing. 1 and 2 we're breaking down into parts A and B, we're showing them. So essentially A would be the southern portion up to the gate, the high school gate. So that would essentially be, you know, the town-owned portion of the road. And then the B portion of 1 and 2 would be the north section. So this would, in our document, essentially breaking it out, if the town were to want to focus more on the town section of the roadway, then it's broken out in terms of cost and potential impacts.
So the 1B, 2B is really on the school property.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's why you're breaking it out.
Yeah, and you can combine them later on. We show a cost comparison combining 1A and 1B just to kind of show how they will compare with each other. Next slide. So the next few slides really just break down, kind of zoom in on those three alternatives. So the first one, the curved sidewalk. So essentially you'll have the existing edge of road would stay the same, and then you'd have a curb and a 5-foot concrete sidewalk on the east side of that.
Porter wants to know if the B section's on the school property or on the rec club property.
Go back to B. Can't tell now. We've gone by it. Can
Go
you
back
go
a previous slide, Val.
to B?
1B and 2B.
I think they're both on the other side of the fence.
If they're on the west side of the fence,
Yeah.
then they're on.
School
Yeah,
School
yeah, they
property.
would still be on the school. We don't have defined right-of-way lines, but from GIS, it appears that the right-of-way is pretty much along the fence, and we would be on the west side of the fence with all of these. Next slide. So the first alternative, yeah, so pretty much explain the first one. So this is the second alternative, which includes a 5-foot sidewalk with a grass strip. So again, the edge of the road would stay in the same location, and then we would add a grass strip and then have the sidewalk on the east side of that. There are a few utility impacts that would be involved with this one. There's one hydrant that would have to be relocated and a few poles that would have to get relocated. Typically with these projects, the relocation of the poles is usually paid for by the utility company if it's within the road right of way. Like, it looks like there would be one in the school area, so that, depending on, what ends up with the right of way, that could be a potential cost if that was considered on the school, but that would likely still be a utility cost.
Jenny, was the right of way assumed or presumed to be a 3-rod right of way, and so the widths would accommodate a green strip and a 5-foot sidewalk?
So what we're doing, it's kind of different here in that the so-called road right-of-way doesn't really have a west side, right-of-way line, because it would be part of, essentially the school. But I guess to answer your question, all of these would still be within the school right-of-way or road right-of-way, depending on how that shaped out. There might be a temporary easement that might be needed. For example, on the B portion, so right around the gate, we're showing that for both alternatives 1 and 2, there'd be a little bit of kind of shifting the sidewalk behind the gate there. But we anticipate that would, based on the kind of general right-of-way information that we have, would still be within the school/town right-of-way. And both of these would be tying into existing sidewalk on the south and then the existing path on the north side.
You call that a path, but it's a sidewalk. It's a paved sidewalk.
Yeah. There was a little bit of talk last time about, whether the, people might walk really, kind of take the southern, right past the gate and kind of walk over to the school, but we're kind of just focusing on Airport Drive, and if the school were to add some sort of new sidewalk, was really treating that as if it would be a separate project. So the goal of this was to tie into that. Yes, technically it's a sidewalk out at the north end of the project area. Next slide. So the first two are really the more straightforward alternatives, either curved sidewalk or sidewalk with a grass strip. As I mentioned, we didn't have an alternative on the west side of the road, primarily due to the parking and wanting to maintain that. So we have a third alternative that's in here. Obviously, it's more pricey and involves shifting the road over. So the intent of this alternative, which kind of talked about very briefly at the last one was mentioned, would be shifting the road to the west slightly. And the intent of that would be, it's more expensive. The main intent is primarily just to give some more room on the east side, where there are some utilities and fences located. It does allow, you would be able to have a little bit of a wider green space at the northern end as well.
The northern end from the rec field property to about where the old bus garage starts there or ends, where the little
Jut out is.
little jut out, which is these are old slides, because
Yeah.
that's not there anymore.
Yeah, the building on the north,
Right, there.
correct, yeah.
No, the building on the south with the little jet out towards the road, it's got the black line through it almost.
Yes,
That's not there anymore.
correct, yeah.
The carport was
Yeah,
there.
that's all parked
That
right
is
now.
wide enough from the hydrant to, actually right about right there, you're there across the road. From there to the rec field gate or road, that's fairly wide. So you could probably widen the road towards the west from the bus garage to Stony Hill.
Right.
And get away with, they don't, there was cars parked there along tonight when I took the
Yeah, we showed
team over.
20 feet in front of that building to be able to maintain parking, but, if in the future it was, desired to shift that even more, then that would certainly be an option. Next slide. That's sort of a brief summary of the alternatives that we looked at. So obviously the big question is how much would this cost? So the top part is just kind of minutia of how we came up with some construction cost estimates for this project. So we don't have detailed topo. So what we typically do with these is we start with, VTrans has a document that gives some linear foot cost for sidewalks and shared use paths. So we start with that cost per linear foot, and then we add in items that are kind of not typical for normal sidewalk projects. So obviously you'll see in 1 and 2, most of the costs that are shown here really fall into that kind of generic VTrans linear foot cost. There's not a lot of, the slope's pretty flat, so it's pretty kind of typical construction. There's the one fence that we called out to be relocated, that's right at the bottom of the school property there in order to get around the gate. And then for the third one, we're assuming, repaving the whole road, and we are assuming a 5-foot swath for full reconstruction. That would be on the west side, since we're not quite sure what the materials are there. So obviously that really brings the cost up. So as we mentioned, so A and B are broken out for both of them. In general, the sidewalk with the grass strip is the cheapest of the 3. The total A plus B around $275,000, and so the unit costs for these come from kind of VTrans cost. There's obviously a lot of inflation right now, so there's a little bit of that built into the cushion, but kind of depending how that pans out and how far out this would be built, probably looking at $300,000 for that one. And then the curb sidewalk, obviously with the curbing, is more expensive, and there'd also likely be some drainage that's typically associated with curb sidewalks. So the baseline for sidewalk construction for curb sidewalks is typically more, and that one showing up about $400,000. And then the road one, quite a bit more expensive than that, about double what you would see with the sidewalk with the grass strip, coming in around $700,000, mostly associated with the pavement, and again the 5-foot swath, assuming for full reconstruction for shifting. We are assuming a 3-foot shift I mentioned in the roadway, but assuming a 5-foot reconstruction, just in terms of constructability and being able to realistically, it's a small piece of equipment to get in there. Next slide. So then really to culminate the project, what we with is really this table which summarizes all of the kind of the existing conditions and the cost. We come up with the evaluation matrix, and we have some different categories for there. And essentially on this graph, the green items are ones that are good, so basically no impact or positive impact. And then the pink and darker pink are the ones which have more impact. One thing we didn't talk about that we always include with these that wasn't mentioned earlier is the potential for the no build alternative. So essentially, just leaving things as they are now. So we always include that, and that will be included in our report as well. So as you can see, there's a lot of similarities between 1 and 2. The impacts are pretty similar. There's a little bit more with the sidewalk with a grass strip in terms of utilities, just because with that grass strip kind of eats into some of the constraints next to it. There's one line that's white, and that would be the archaeological historic, which sometimes we take a look at these studies, which wasn't part of this project, so we have to assume unknown for that one. And then in terms of permitting, the only one that, well, I guess there's 2 that potentially show up. One category is the Act 250 or categorical exclusion. So it's a pretty minor project. We certainly wouldn't anticipate an Act 250, but the categorical exclusion. And then for the roadway realignment, it could potentially need a construction stormwater discharge permit. But currently the calculations that we came up with are just shy of meeting it. But depending on how it's basically based on the amount of disturbance that the project has, and depending on staging and that sort of stuff, it could put that into the threshold for needing it. But we just showed that as potential, although that might not be likely with that one. And then other than that, there's one for level of meeting the goal. So you'll see the shifted sidewalk has a green showing improved for that. And the only reason that one and 2 show a lighter green for that is if they were done individually, it wouldn't be having a sidewalk for the whole length of the project area. But if you did 1 and B together, then that would go into the darker green category for that one. Next slide. So that kind of summarizes the alternatives we came up with and their evaluation. The next step, we're currently working on putting together the scoping study report in conjunction with this, and we have a meeting next week with the TAC, Mike Winslow, for this project, and then we'll be wrapping it up. We'll be sending the report to Valerie and Mike for comments and addressing comments into our report and coming up with the final report. And hopefully it will help aid the town to move forward and help make a decision moving forward to help with the walkability in this area.
Was there a discussion, I was just curious about, like in your alternatives 1A and 1B, doing the curb sidewalk for the 1A portion and doing like a grass strip sidewalk for the school?
So essentially,
rather than doing the whole
like a
curb.
1A and 2B.
Yeah.
It'll be broken to the report by 1A and each section, so you could certainly mix and match those.
I've never been a big fan of the curb and the sidewalk right there because, the street plow and the sidewalk plow fight over it, and always the street plow wins. And I wouldn't be so much concerned if it was on another street, but if our goal is to get the kids on the sidewalk instead of walk up the road to the school. If they're on there, walking up through there, it's a beautiful day, and there's 3 wide, and they're on their phones or whatever, and someone gets pushed or just walks off the curb, now they're in traffic just like that. And that, from 8 to 8:30, that's a busy street, right, Bruce? Very busy street. And a flick of an eye, someone could get hit as soon as they fall off that curb. And with that green spot, just 5 feet off the sidewalk, even if it's a belly green, so taking the water.
The drainage, yeah.
I fell off the sidewalk, I'm in the green spot, I'm not in the road now. That's my concern with a curb. And my biggest concern for 40 plus years I've driven is coming out with a bus, and you gotta go around through that gate, and I would like the school, I don't know if they got involved in much with this project, but I'd like to see some kind of an island right about there where the cars going north stay there. And then when the buses come out, it's a little wider the gate is, and they come out, and there's just a little island, maybe the big as this table, right about where that gate is.
Yeah, they've been in loop on the meetings. We did get, I forget what the gentleman's name was, Valerie at the school. We did get one email, but it was really related to the sidewalk and not in terms of the bus traffic.
And my last concern is, will they get to the gate? They do it constantly now. They walk from the school and they walk up through the parking lot and they
Go through the parking lot.
go through the parking lot and
Yeah.
back that way.
95% of the kids go through the parking lot.
Hardly any, unless they're going up Pleasant, out Liberty, going up Pine, use the sidewalk to the trailer park and then along the trailer park. Would you say maybe 20% go that way and
The
75?
quickest spot is a straight line. That's the way
Right.
they
That's
go.
what they do.
They do.
Through the
Yep.
parking lot.
So, to have them go down all the way to the corner of the trailer park by the Little League field, then walk all the way south.
They're not
I
gonna do that.
I think that's a stretch,
Even if the sidewalk's there, they're not going to walk down and then
No.
left. They're going to turn and go through the parking lot.
straight or
Yeah.
cut across
Like they do now.
As crow flies.
as a crow flies.
That's what they do.
And that's why I talk about that little island there, was
Mhm.
narrow that up and slow the traffic right
Well,
there.
school can do some other things with the parking lot, like one way, only one way, because.
Well, it is only one way out.
Right.
No, there's no sign that says you can't enter. Where you come out with the bus, there's no sign that says you can't enter there.
There's a sign way up by the gate that says do not enter,
Do not enter where?
down that road towards the track. There's a sign there that says do not enter.
Last I was
Isn't
in
there,
there,
Bruce?
there
Yes.
might be now,
There's a
but
sign
there
there.
wasn't, there
Well,
wasn't
it's
at one
it's
point.
like, you go there so often, people just kind of forget that
Right.
that it's there.
Well, it's like even around the, by the fields where you come up around in front of the school.
Mhm.
They didn't used to have a one-way sign there, and they put one up finally, and I was like. But
Okay. Thank you, Jenny. That was excellent.
Valerie, can you go back to shows the entrance to the school or the entrance on Stony Hill? When we're talking about sliding the road, right there, Jay. Right from about where it says maintain building for parking, right about in that corner of that box, from there to Stony Hill, it gets pretty, I won't say tight, but the bank is pretty steep
Yeah.
right there. Digging that back may require more than just sloping it.
Yeah.
Nothing was considered there though, yeah, just moving, you said possibly moving the road over 3 feet.
Right. Yeah, that was the extent. We'll take a look at the cost again as it pertains to that, but that's all that has been looked at today.
And then as you can see, it doesn't 90 degree with 116, but sliding it over
Right.
would
Yeah.
Make it worse.
make it worse, right? Thank you, Peter. Yeah. And it's too bad that we couldn't, in the project, figure if the Legion was ever gonna do anything, but with that fence, what comes to a 90, and it's their property, I'm not saying they're gonna take it for free, by no means. If that sidewalk from where it ends in the purple, where it says tied into existing sidewalk, could slant more in and get it away from that edge,
Right.
would be very
Yes.
helpful.
That is tight going down there with the sidewalk.
Yes.
Wow. And the other question, I think I've already asked this once before, but I don't remember, is who's gonna maintain the sidewalk from there all the way over to the trailer park?
I think you pick your blade up at the town line, like you do now, at the gate, and I applied to school for 29 years. And
Yeah, we talked about that at a previous meeting when I don't remember which school official it was that was attending, but they affirmed that they would handle behind the gate maintenance, and then it was believed that the town would plow to the gate.
Yep.
Okay. And the only reason I was asking is because when they do their sidewalks, they really put the salt down and bear them up, whereas we
Right.
don't. And I didn't wanna, I just was, because we wouldn't be putting the material down that they would be putting down on the sidewalks.
The ones that they maintain are currently asphalt.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I think, yeah, since it's not part of the scoping study, Joel's comment about the island, I think that if we decide to move forward with this, we'd obviously want to discuss that and sort of add that in to the potential of this project. In looking at this study, it's, for me, the price tag attached to moving the road over 3 feet seems beyond what we might want to consider. I do like the idea of sort of the mixing of the two, perhaps, or just having the grass. And the grass, as Joel mentioned, but both for plowing and for safety, seems like the most beneficial, and it's the least expensive, which is kind of nice. So it actually might be obtainable to actually get funding for this to be able to put it in. But yeah, this was excellent. This is great to see. Very exciting. I walk this area a lot, and I think not just for the school. I mean, yes, the students are going to walk where they're going to walk, and you could ask the school to put a sidewalk on that through the parking lot in terms of along one of those roads that would connect to the sidewalk they already have up there. But I do think a lot of people, residents in town and people walking, would use an addition, the sidewalk a lot. It provides a nice loop around the school.
When I leave in the morning for work, I do see a lot of people walk up Airport Drive and then go back, or they're coming off, when I go down Liberty, they're coming off along the trailer park sidewalk of Mount Abe's. And they're doing the loop, as you said. They're leaving the village, going out West Street, past Martin's and to the high school and back down through.
Yeah, so I do think it will be used. So you have one more meeting and then present the final study to the town.
The last meeting we have is with the TAC meeting next week. This is actually our last meeting with the town, but we'll be wrapping up the scoping study, and we'll forward that to Valerie, and she can share that with everybody. And then any comments that the town has, we can address and put into the final report. And it does seem like I know there are some similar faces here tonight as at the last meeting, but it does seem like the input has been pretty consistent in terms of seems like the grass strip seems like it's been a preferred alternative even prior to really being formalized into alternatives tonight.
Right, but it's nice to see those alternatives. It's good. We want a good overview of the potential of that area. So it's great to do. Give us three.
Jenny, one last question for Jenny. So after your TAC meeting, when this is presented to Valerie for putting it on the shelf for I hope not for a long time, but will it be what we call going for a grant ready?
I think that would be a question for the town. VTrans does have a couple grant programs that open up early in the fall. I don't know how quick the town would be moving forward, but
well, not that we're going to build it this year, but is there more things we're going to have to do to even submit it for a grant?
In terms of studies, no, really, this is the main document, and I don't know if there's anything from your end in terms of moving forward.
Based on the study, you've got three grant sources that I can think of. TAP grants, which are open in the fall, and then bike and ped grants that open in the spring. Bike and ped have large scale grants and small scale grants. Large scales covers 80% of the cost. Small scale only covers 50% up to a cap. This one is, the trouble with the large scale grants is the federal grants, they take a long time to do. Average is 4 to 5 years for a project. You would have to do the historic study that wasn't completed as part of this due to funding resources, but you could include the cost of that in the grant itself.
For our historical statement just be, we want to put a sidewalk for safety to the school for kids stop getting run over? So we don't run over kids?
Not if you're using federal funds. There's a lot of strings attached.
I don't
to
care
using
about that.
federal funds. But the small
Just
scale.
don't dig up their archaeological sites.
the small
Kevin
scale-
did that.
Small scale
He's done
grants.
enough study for that.
The small scale grants are state funds, so there's fewer hoops to jump through, so you might be able to get away with it then.
So you might be able to get a small scale PED grant and maybe a TAC grant and combine them together?
Well, now,
CAD grant can't be used for construction.
so if this has been studied now by Jenny and them, it can't be split in two and say, we're going to get a TAC grant to go from the airport drive to the school park gate.
No, TAP grant. TAP grant is also federal funds, so that would be the same.
You have to do the whole thing or none.
It would be the same limitations as the.
Same paperwork.
Like, yeah. The other possibilities, you're also looking at Munsell Ave. The federal grants are good for really big projects. You could try to combine both projects in one application.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Jenny or about this project?
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you.
I have a question for Mike
Mike,
regarding grants. If next week, at the next meeting, we're going to be hearing a similar presentation from Du Bois and King about the Munsell Avenue sidewalk scoping study and the recommendations from that. So if at some point in the future, now both of those would be in similar positions, could we combine to submit a grant application for both projects in a single application?
I would check with V-Trans on that, but that would be my recommendation to try to do that. Because if you're gonna jump through all these hoops, the bigger pot of money you're going for, the more it's worthwhile.
Right, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Ian Mason has a question.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all right, it's a public meeting.
Sure.
So I was, as somebody who's enjoyed visiting Bristol for 40-some years, the whole concept of escalating in the volume of concrete and asphalt in the town planning concepts, have you thought about a boardwalk as eliminating the grass, a wider type presentation that absorbs water, allows level walking, which more people, like a boardwalk concept, and it creates it gets you away from that narrow sidewalk situation. And so I just wanted to throw that out there, because when I had read in the Addison paper this particular meeting and I saw the language used, I was going, oh, something's going on here that is starting to think the architectural concepts that are now being considered in larger cities, because they're coming to a crashing point of over concreting. And so I just like to put that out there.
Thank you. We haven't previously discussed that for this project or Munsell. And I don't know, I'm sure our road foreman would have thoughts about that, just in terms of longevity of something like that versus concrete. Though, sidewalks do need to be replaced after a number of years. I don't know if Eric, you've had any experience with that kind of construction versus how it's traditionally done.
No, I haven't, but if it's using a stone material or something to that effect, where it's gonna allow drainage, you're not gonna be able to plow it in the wintertime. Cause it's never gonna freeze solid. Being clean stone or whatever the material is. And then wheelchairs are not gonna be able to run on it very easy. Being that you're gonna be able to allow water to seep in. So it'll have to be something that would have to be researched.
Right.
Boardwalk,
Okay.
like boards.
Boards?
You would be,
Yeah, I know, well, that's what I was thinking, maybe I would plow that.
Yeah, then you'll rip them up with a plow.
Right, use a sweeper.
You don't, get back in. No, chance.
All right. That's a discussion for another day, but thank you for that comment. Appreciate it. All right. Any other discussion for this particular item? All right, thank you, Jenny.
Thank
We shall
you.
move on.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay. Regular business item 3, consider options for a future location of the Bristol Police Station and steps forward. You're muted, Doc.
As you may remember, our lease expires
Next year.
next year. September 30th, 2023 is the last day of our lease in our current space.
And currently the town pays.
Well, if he sells the building, we don't know what to do.
That's true.
So currently the town pays around $40,000 a year to lease the space from Bristol
Valerie
Works.
said this, next year it's gonna be 47, 48. somewhere
Right.
around there.
Does that include the triple net?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think they're 42,678 a year. Yeah, somewhere around there.
Okay, so background on this, the Bristol Police Department is housed in a building located on Munsell Ave. That building is part of the Bristol Works LLC complex, owned by Kevin Harper, who's in attendance there at the town hall. So the town, we lease the space for the police station, and it's around $40,000 a year, I believe. It's going to go up to around 47.
42, 43.
Sorry, 42. If we renew the lease, which would be for next year. And this discussion is to sort of figure out a way forward. What do we want to do? We've had discussions in the past. Okay. We've had discussions in the past in terms of do we continue leasing that space and paying that amount of money each year? The negative against that would be that that money is just lease money. You're not investing in anything. And after a certain number of years, you've paid the same amount of money that you would to actually have built your own building and run it yourself. The other option is if we don't continue the lease, where does the police station go? Do we build a new building? There was always discussion and the idea to connect it with the Bristol Fire Department and that building on Stony Hill. There was also discussions that we had about a year ago in terms of the renovations of the Public Works Department and having the police department with a building at that location. And those talks had been put on hold at the moment, just with information that we had about the actual ground that those buildings sit on. So that's what I just want to give a little bit of history. That's what we're discussing here, like the future of the police station and what direction the town might take. And there we go.
And might I, just for, again, a little bit of history here, when the town in Stony Hill did the work on the firehouse location, our architect at the time that did the firehouse did render, and I have a visual here. I don't know how to do this under the circumstances.
I don't know if I can get it.
You got it upside down.
I get it. Well,
No, that's good. That's all right. This is Main Street.
You gotta get you into the, right there, there you go.
Yeah, it's going to be hard.
I'll hold that. I'll hold that.
So there's a firehouse right now, the big chunk of red. Can you all see that? And this rendered right behind it is something in the 2,500, 3,000 square foot police department. The parking lot in between the two. So it's been, not that the building interior was designed, there wasn't any real money spent on it, but there was it's roughly equivalent to the police department square footage that's there. And the idea was share the parking, be close by to, blend, you'd have the benefit of the two entities sharing space and having common areas. And you own the land. I have nothing in this, everyone, please. This isn't about me. I'm strongly encouraging some real thought into this possibility because you own the land, the town has paid for it. There's a stormwater pond that you could put, 3 firehouses and 2 more police stations on it, and it's still big enough. There's plenty of There's parking now along Firehouse Drive on both sides of that street that didn't exist when this was rendered.
And they gave that up for the housing coming.
What do you mean?
No, none of that house, none of the
Oh, yeah.
parking is designated to that house.
Oh, yeah, it is,
Yeah.
Speaker. Yeah, it is.
No, that's parking on the housing lot. I'm talking about on
On
street
the road.
parking.
On the side towards the east is designated for, the planning commission designated that for that housing bump.
Okay, so what about on the
The
west?
west side, I don't
All right,
know.
so there's 8 or 10 parking spaces on the west side.
Yeah.
And the other thing is there's 8 or 10 right there back to the south of the firehouse that are for visitors. And there's 10 or some spaces on the west side that run north-south that are running. And know that my partner, David Budersdorf, whose building's going up there, right, that clearing right behind the firehouse has got parking that he's offered free, park there. So I don't see where there's a conflict or a limit on parking. And there's plenty of room for the building in that 3,000 square foot range. So that's my 2 cents. That's why I came, and I'll leave.
The question I had is, you have a new large stormwater pond there. Right below our stormwater pond.
Right, a bigger than your stormwater pond.
And I don't know if it would be worthwhile, or if you'd be amenable to the thought of us eliminating our pond if it was possible, and routing the water to the existing pond.
It's an engineering question, right?
I know it's but we can't ask the question without permission to use the.
So why do you think, if you look at this, and it is at scale, and I haven't had time to look, but I thought there was a lot of noodling about it. You're sure that the stormwater isn't designed with that in mind? Do you think you need additional stormwater?
No, I don't think we need my thought is we don't need it at all. If we could eliminate that stormwater pond.
Get more parking area
And the
there.
firehouse and the police. Oh, that's up to the engineers.
Well,
That's not.
but if the option isn't there to
Yeah.
see if we could
Okay.
use,
Yeah.
if your
What
stormwater
about-
pond would accommodate it.
So what we know is we're talking about 3 building sites on the commercial side of Stony Hill, 25,000 square footage per, I think it was. And then the housing's got their own. So as long as there's capacity there, I don't care. That stuff, neither of those ponds ever see water anyway.
No,
It's ridiculous.
Our stormwater pond for the fire station is a grassed-in pond. It's fully grassed. It's all grass, isn't it, just
Right,
about all
but
grass.
have you ever seen water sitting in it?
No.
It's ridiculous, and so it's so over-engineered, it's so over-designed, I'd certainly be open to it.
I mean, but we can't even venture to ask the engineers that
Okay.
question without permission from you.
I'm saying you have my permission.
Okay.
So Peker, what would be the reason to eliminate that?
It would give us parking. If parking is the drawback, it would give us the ability to do more parking.
Okay, so why are we thinking parking is a drawback, given what Kevin's described? How much parking do we need for the police station?
I mean, I've lived with the police station for 9 years, sir, and we've never seen any parking issues over there, and they don't have but a few spots, really.
I
A lot
would,
of people park in front in the superintendent's space, and they walk over those.
But it seems like it's a come in, come and go. And the number of times that I've seen the fire department use the spaces on the fire department property it's rare. It's
at least
Training.
meeting
Once
nights,
Then
we park along the road now, some of us do. Meeting nights.
Anyway,
And if you have a fire, haven't had a fire, and everybody is there.
I just wanted to, remind folks that there's room, it's yours, it's fully, all the infrastructure's there,
I thought they actually did a design, mock-up. Not an actual,
I think more
but
than,
just
not
like a
much more than that.
concept.
I'd like to see actually I've been opposed of it for a while, but I've rethought it. I'd always like want to go across the road to a certain property that we know that we could buy. And then we could expand this, not that I'm willing to spend a lot of money, more money, but, you know, our rec department needs an office at least. You know, and we could put it on the back end of this property that borders the rec field.
Again,
Just a thought. But if the police station could go where the pond is and have their own entrance.
Then the buildings aren't connected, then you can't do 2 stories without an elevator. I mean, the whole appealing
Do
thing
we
to
want
me
2
is.
stories in a police station?
Two in the police department, though, do you?
I don't think we need to.
Well,
on the square footage of that.
it would eliminate if we already have the elevator, if we did an entryway between the 2.
Yeah.
Then.
Or you go left or
The
right.
offices could be upstairs.
The offices could be upstairs because they'd have the handicap accessibility.
I'm so glad this is your problem.
Well, it changes the amount of space you need. It changes your footprint on the ground. It makes the parking
I love the idea
less of an issue.
being together,
Right.
that's the community
A
center.
public safety building
There we go.
with
Yeah.
that houses the fire department and the police department.
Right there where people live, right there where people work, right across from the high school, on and on and on. It's just. So,
And if we could eliminate the pond, then that would free up land area perhaps for a community center and the rec department offices.
I don't think we can put that much building on that property.
come on, let's go in the back, use one of those lots in the back there.
Kevin's gonna get something out of this yet.
Right, do we need 25,000 square feet of rec
Yeah,
center?
no.
Does Dave need
You
all
don't have to build
25,000
it that
square
much.
feet?
I guess
Yeah,
my still is if we built across the road where we were going to put it a number of years ago.
Across the road on this side, the north side.
The Shepherd property. What would a single-story police department cost, like we were going to design over to the town barn, versus a 2-story? Can you buy the house and have it done and start there and have it visible to the road? Access out, in and out of the police department is number 1 key there. They're not going in, coming out, you know, for the housing there. That's was always my concern for down at the town bar, going down a dead-end street. And can a single-story, 3,000 square foot building be cheaper to buy when you throw the property in with it than it would be going 2-story?
Yeah, but then you're gonna have to put in a conference room and bathroom, I mean, all the stuff that
Right.
they were gonna share.
The infrastructure, right?
Yeah, and you also take that off the
Tax
grand
roll.
list.
Right.
And we own the land over at the fire station. It was
Already not on the grand list.
That's right.
Right.
And it was designed to accommodate this. You know, the parking is something we can work out at a later date. I don't see that being an issue. I don't prefer to see great swaths of parking and just seeing it empty all the time. I don't want that to happen. I'd much prefer to use that space as wisely as we can. You know, so this is one option in terms of building a new building that would be on town land. Is somewhat designed to accommodate it. The other option is to remain where we are and continue with the lease. But I know
Just
that
be another 10-year lease, that's all. I would be very reasonable.
So yeah, another 10-year lease. But I know that and Bruce, you can probably speak to this. We've had discussions in terms of you're limited there with the layout of that space and what you'd like to do with it. I don't know if you want to speak to that a little.
Me?
No.
Bruce.
Oh,
Bruce.
No, we need a little more space and we need to make some improvements.
Here's a question for Kevin regarding the lease. When it expires, can it be renewed on a year-to-year basis?
Well, that's a negotiation, I guess. It isn't set up for that. It's a 10-year lease, and I don't know if it's a 6-year notice or a 6-month notice, or I haven't looked at it in a while. But that's completely on the table, you guys. I mean, we just went through this with the supervisory union. And
Yeah, but they're gonna be around a lot longer.
well, maybe.
Or hope.
I wish they could make up their minds. So What is it you'd be looking for, do you imagine?
I guess the town would need some time to go through the process of design and permitting and construction before being able to.
I think a minimum, personally, I think a minimum 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years. I was just
So
doing some.
we've already got, what have we got left? 1 year?
1 year.
Yeah.
1 year.
It's October, end of September.
I mean, I just did some rough math at the rent we're paying now, at a 3% increase a year. I'm just using 2.5 or 3.
That's about right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Even not even doing that, and $350 a square foot.
Oh, really?
I know I'm high. I think I'm
Sounds
high.
high.
Yeah, I know I'm high.
So why use, all right.
Or $300 a square foot, or 3,000 square foot building is $1 million.
Okay.
900 and some odd $1 million.
Yeah. So
Okay.
how long does it take?
It's 23 years with no increase in the rent.
Right.
23 years the building's paid for. With an increase in rent, it goes down around 18 years. With 1.3 is $1,300 a year increase in rent.
I knew this guy worked in the bank. I didn't know he was a banker.
No. Well, that's why when I bring up my notion across the road, we got a bunch of financial analysis here and builders here that it's cheaper. It may not be cheaper to build at that fire station. That's why I want it look both ways. I just would like it to look, that's why I always oppose the one over.
It'll cost you $500,000 to clear and prep that site by the time you buy it. And then you're building,
that
you're
so hard to believe.
still building $1 million building.
I find that so hard to believe, but anyway, I don't. Okay. You prep buildings, I know. When you prep it, you mean get it down to.
Get rid of the one that's there, buy it, get rid of the one that's there.
That's money.
And start over. And you have to have septic power.
No, that comes in the $1 million.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't, because you already have it all over to the other one. You already have your septic, you already have your power, you already have your
It's a
elevator.
public building, so you have to go through all the state permitting
Yeah.
processes.
Well, we will.
For that over
Well,
there.
right.
Yeah.
But get that septic design and all that.
I would like, we're all gonna see drawings and stuff and how many parking spots it's gonna take.
Right, I'm pretty sure.
Is-
we
is-
saw mock-ups.
Is Cushman still in business?
Yes, yeah, he's doing, what's he doing now? Something else. Yeah.
He would know if he did a mock-up of the police station, because I
No,
swear,
yeah,
I thought we
no,
saw
I
something.
brought my computer, but it died. I had it, I could have found it for you tonight, but I didn't bring my cord.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure when we went through the fire department.
But there wasn't any interior.
Not it's like a total interior, but something like how they might have set it up,
I think we
but not
just
really.
took
We've got some of that information from the previous design by Breadloaf, at least schematically and then theoretically, that can be perhaps projected.
Right, which was going to be at the Pine Street site.
Right, and they did a pretty detailed assessment of the interior and the kind of programmatic needs of the department in that location.
In which location?
The
Pine
80
Street.
Pine Street Public Works facility.
I was talking about Cushman had put
5,
something
6 years
together
ago.
5, 6
Right.
years ago when we were at the fire facility meeting.
I just, it was an idea and it wasn't on the table, but we
Yeah.
sort of promoted it.
Right.
What I just don't want to see happen, Peter and I lived through it, and many men before us who signed that book tonight, was now we've got a big enough building where we can operate and park. And we were North Street when we coming into a fire call, and wherever you could ditch your car on a lawn or anywhere, we did it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go back there. And when we're all dead and gone, and our next set of kids are dead and gone, we always said that station's going to last us 100 years. And I think it will, definitely will, because it's built well. And
the other
I don't want to say, boy, now we're tight.
There is a lot, there's another.
Bruce, we want to expand to town-wide. If we do, where's that going to put us in? I just want to make sure we're.
There's that pit next to the stormwater overflow of the overflow pit.
Yeah, the one that's right on Stony Hill.
There, that's our land. Do it there. I mean, it's not doing, it's doing nothing.
What's going on upstairs?
So, either way, I think that's an option. Right right behind the Nelsons.
Right.
Still on Stony Hills. All right, well, I'll just leave that, and maybe it's just for something to noodle, but.
New town garage.
No.
20,000 square foot town garage,
Yeah, it's gonna be for all of us to go live our last years. It's gonna be a.
Put the grave sites there?
Yeah.
Put the
Grave sites. I was thinking,
Independent living with,
yeah, like-
with memory care and the whole 9 yards.
Yes, of course, right out on the tip there.
You did Kevin, you built this. I did what?
I did.
Question for Kevin related to this. Do we have a start date for David's building?
Spring, early spring, because his lease is up and they're gonna boot him out of there fall of next year. And he's happy about that.
So hopefully he found the fast boat from China
They're
to bring
trying
his
to get the
siding.
panels, right, we've got the metal laying all around in my front yard there at Bristol Works. South, in front of your front yard. So no, we have to get on it this year.
That's great. It's good. It's going to be exciting to see that going up.
It is.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yep. Thank you very much for coming in, Kevin. We really appreciate that.
See you guys. Sorry
Thanks,
to-
Kevin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No.
So for next steps, shall I reach out to the Cushman Design and see if they're available and give us an estimate?
Well, it seems like we have a couple options. We have a team that has put together a building for us in a decent amount of detail already.
Right.
Can we transpose that over to a new location and have them continue to work? Do we want to continue that relationship since we've already started that? Or, as you said, do we invite back the team that built this building all those years ago? I think.
Well, the one reason for Cushman Design is because they also designed Stony Hill Business Park. They designed the whole thing. So they know all of the site constraints and the ins and outs of the stormwater pond, for example, and those kinds of details. And they have that rough sketch. I couldn't see what Kevin brought, so I don't know how detailed that is, but
it's rough.
Yeah, they have a
Yeah, it's
concept
just the
of
outside. Yeah, it's just the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have a concept, and they could probably take the concept, the interior concept designs, the workflow information, and adapt that to whatever they've done already.
Okay.
I think if we want to let the building out to bid at all, and you hire a design build team to design your building for you, they're not going to be as amenable to giving you the plans to let it out to bid as if we hire an architect to design us the building. And then we'll have the option. If we want to let Breadloaf bid on it, that's fine. But we'll have, the plans will be ours, and we'll be able to let it out to bid wherever we see fit. That's the only drawback with a design build is that, they do the design, and unless you pay for that design, it's their design.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm fine inviting Cushman, or at least reaching out to them and seeing what their availability is and interest. I do think, as you said, Val, having a company that is very familiar with that area will definitely be to our benefit, especially if we're asking the question about removing a stormwater pond and potentially connecting in with the new one that was built to allow us hopefully a little bit more parking area there. So I'd be for reaching out to Cushman.
Okay, I'd be happy to do it. What do other select board members think? Is there a consensus or a vote?
I think it makes sense.
Okay, so consensus.
And I think they'll probably take the same approach they took in designing the fire station. They'll reach out to Bruce and ask for his flow of activity and the way he wants it. And if you have the other plans that if he's happy with, he can pick and choose from there what he wants. The one thing that's not in that drawing that I would suggest is an entrance that hooks to both buildings, so you can go from one to the other inside. And that would allow us to use the elevator, not have to duplicate that, and I think it'd be a
Glass
lot,
walkway.
yeah. But yeah, you know,
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and I think you're right, Peter, in terms of yes, you might be you're a smaller footprint, and you might be going up in cost because you're doing 2 stories, but the ability to connect and use resources that are already there, I think, is very useful, and the fact that by having that smaller footprint, you're able to save and use parking spaces that we have and make additional ones, and maybe not even have to touch the stormwater area.
I'm not sure if we've asked Bruce for his opinion or if we know it yet.
Bruce, what's your opinion?
Behind the fire department? Yes.
Yeah.
That's where I'd like to be. I think that's the best place to go.
Well, there we go.
All right.
Bruce and I had it all marked out on the ground over there. We did everything but dig.
Right. And so yeah, we'd have to start this process, and then obviously work with Bristol Works to figure out where the next few years of this process. And like Joel said, it's probably going to be 5 years before setting foot in a new building, potentially over there. And so we'd have to figure out what that looks like in terms of, since Bruce is sort of at capacity and he's sort of running into some space issues now. How does he deal with that? How does the department deal with that over the next 5 years, potentially?
Right.
Let's make the move to less than 5 years.
Right. No, exactly. And there were, speaking with Bruce, and speaking with Kevin, myself, there could be potential to use space that's already in that building, but that still requires a certain dollar amount to reconfigure what's in the building now and move things around. He's still in that place, and we're still paying the lease every year. So it's always going to add up. We're always going to have that.
Yeah, and we're basically paying, we're obviously paying the taxes on the space that we're leasing, because it is on the tax rolls.
Right.
And it's triple net, so they're apportioning the tax expense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do think it's important, like the parking, as Joel said, like not running into a situation where we don't have enough to accommodate who needs to park at that location for both those departments. And hopefully we see the fire department and the police department coming together as sort of public safety and what that might look like in 5 or 10 or 15 years. We're talking about a position that's maybe a town position, maybe a police department position, which is sort of social worker and sort of health official in some kind of capacity. And so what does that look like? It's not just going to be a police station. It's going to be, I think, so much more. So something to think about as well.
We want to think about that space too.
Yeah, that was a good point.
Yeah. And
so I'll reach out to Cushman
I see
Design.
that only growing. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And then I think if this is a direction that we're interested in taking, we can obviously revisit the Public Works Department and look at that again. And I don't know what the timeline is for that. If we're thinking about putting the police station there, that might help us in our discussions that we were having with the Public Works buildings in terms of the needs and necessity for that space too.
Right. Good point.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions, comments for this particular item? Okay, let's move on. Do you want to do this, Val, the next one? The consider selection of new.
Skip that one.
You want to skip it entirely?
For the driveway access permit, yes, skip that one. So the next one would be the bond bank review. Consider new bond counsel.
Yeah.
And
I do recommend we discuss that in executive session.
I was just saying that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're going to number item what is now 4, It's going to be an executive session. Next item would be the American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funding update.
It's unfortunate that Porter skipped out, but yeah, she waited so long. The spaghetti dinner was, I think, successful. About 20 people, in addition to committee members and other folks related to the committee and helpers, were there and participated, and included online and the written summary of what what folks said. So I don't know if you want me to put that on the screen or just kind of refer to it, and given the time, I'm not sure how would you like to proceed with that. Their next meeting is September 19th, next Monday. It's going to be the first in-person meeting since they've formed, and they will be continuing to evaluate the criteria for which to hone down all of these suggestions.
Okay, I can read out. I have it in front of me, Val, if you want me to read out a couple of the things that were discussed.
Okay, yeah, I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
So.
So essentially, the 20 participants and the main issues and challenges that Bristol faces, these were some of the top ones: affordable childcare, affordable housing, outdoor activities, especially outdoor education for youth, just to have the space and programs for those things to happen, mental health care, sustainability, and the taxes and affordability issues. So those were the main issues, challenges that participants at the dinner discussed, and then some of the potential solutions and the ARPA funds use were the multi-use community center, recreation center, which is something that we've discussed many times in our meetings. And these could include senior programs, pool, high ceiling gym, community kitchen, makerspace, business incubator, outdoor spaces, Bristol Trail Network, outdoor classrooms at schools or the library. I know that was an interesting proposal that I talked to Coco, the Bristol librarian, about. Swimming pool, bike, and pedestrian lanes, something we're working on currently. Upgrade to the town water systems, again, something that we've discussed in many meetings. Improve the Wi-Fi broadband access, that's happening now with Maple Broadband. Internships and tutoring for youth. Broaden population eligible for benefits, universal childcare, universal lunches. Sustainability, insulation, solar panels, anaerobic digester. And a way to attract and support young families, childcare expansion, and housing. So those are some of the notes from that first spaghetti dinner that was held.
And I see you included a link to that document in the chat.
Yeah, for people that were interested. Now, I don't know, Val, I had a question for you regarding this. So we've got a number of responses for both online and in postcard form for thoughts. Have these been put into your giant matrix so far, your spreadsheet? I just want to make sure that those don't fall behind the wayside.
I have not seen all of those individual recommendations. Porter is going to go through every single one of them and summarize them in a similar way that Betty did with her of the landfill interviews.
And we'll be able to have access to that raw data, correct?
Oh, yes.
Because it'd be nice.
I believe so.
Like summary is great, but it'd be nice to have sort of the individual responses just to see sort of more detail in what was sort of discussed and what was suggested.
Right.
Okay,
right.
Great. All right. Anything else for the ARPA?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not for tonight.
Okay. Review and approval of August 22nd meeting minutes. Anyone have a chance to look through those? I did not.
Yeah.
No.
I'll do it tomorrow, maybe.
You want to push that to the next meeting?
Looks like it. Yeah.
Okay. Let's do that. It's all right. Authorize accounts payable, warrant, and any liquor licenses. Anything happening on that front, Sharon?
Well, as you see, the accounts payable warrant is $431,966.09.
Yeah.
And the 270,000 plus bill from King's Trucking for the West Street project is a good portion of it. As far as liquor licenses, as you know, the event for the mystery is coming up, and they've been trying to get someone to do the liquor, but as I told Meredith before, I didn't think she could do it unless she had somebody that had a liquor license. And she finally worked with the investigator at DLC, and that is the case. So Taylor apparently works for some winery or something in Lincoln, and so she actually bartends and stuff. So under their liquor license, she's going to actually do the alcohol for the event. So that will be coming down the pike at some point. And since it's a special event, I'm just letting you guys know because I'm the only one that needs to sign off on it. So that's coming down. It's sort of like the one they did for the firehouse, but so that's all I have for that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Sharon. Select Board Roundtable. Darla.
I do not have anything this evening.
Thank you. Michelle.
I'm good. Good night.
Joel.
Yeah, I got a couple of three things. Eric, Peter, do you remember when Pete was road foreman atop of corner of Spring and Mountain? As you stop at Spring Street, stop sign, you look north. Remember years ago, 10, 12 years ago?
When we cut them hedges?
Yeah, cut those hedges. Then we paid $800-900 to that guy.
Yeah.
Now you can't look up that street anymore. You top at Spring Street and you look north, and he planted 2 trees there. You can't see towards the school. I don't know if Bruce has noticed it. Right
Yeah,
there.
they overhang on the sidewalk too when you're walking.
Yeah.
So they should be trimmed.
Yeah, so.
No.
I know that, I'm not just saying pointing at Eric.
Yeah.
We need to do a better job as a board about what stuff is. Eric is really good about when you give a driveway permit, they have to see so many feet each side, got a tree limb or this or that, and we don't even go by those same bylaws for a driveway permit, for a street permit. I mean, coming off, you can't see looking up, and there's more than that in this village.
So why can't we write them a letter, say either cut your tree, trim the trees,
Trim
or we'll do
or
it
we're
for you?
gonna. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought that's what we
And
do,
there's
right?
Right.
And there's one on, when you stop at Munsalon Pine, you look towards my house. You can't see past that burning bush, especially in the school bus. I have to.
Especially that one up on Mount Street. Need to send a letter to them first. I don't want to get in the same predicament that
Right,
they were in
no.
before.
Yeah, they need to get a letter saying, cut them or we'll do it.
Yeah. And then Eric, the
It's a
stop,
safety issue.
I honestly don't
Within the
know.
last 3 years.
and then the stop sign
Probably be a problem, but
on Munsell Avenue
once in a while.
to Pine. Could that be moved more towards Pine Street? What I'm seeing is people, Pine Street, headed towards my place and towards Liberty, and there's somebody walking along the road, they go out around it like that, and somebody's coming off Munsell, they've stopped, and they can't see east because the building's in the way. So they come right out, and there's been almost a few times where cars have hit there.
Well, even though the stop sign is back a little ways, you still have to proceed cautiously.
You're right.
Turn. So if there was some kind of incident, the driver is at fault.
But people are looking, and they pull out, and there's a car coming right at them.
Yeah.
Or they're going around somebody.
Yeah, I'll just have to have side check it, make sure there's no water, but that shouldn't be too big of an issue.
And speaking of water, last night, all that amount of rain, did somebody happen to look up South Street? And this would be a perfect time to check the slide that they just repaired. Did it?
South Street.
South Street?
Oh.
Where you can see the
over here.
slide on West Street?
No, I didn't.
Just was wondering how it looked.
I do.
Then Valerie, your question is, we gonna be ready for vote for Pine Street water line in November?
You're muted, Val.
Got that. That's related to the bond discussion in executive session. Legal counsel.
All right. And that's all I have then.
Joel, so your tree, it's on Spring and Mountain, is that correct?
Up at the Spring Street, at the intersection of Spring and Mountain, and look north towards the school. You can't see up that way.
It's on Mountain Street.
The two
Yeah.
trees are on Mountain Street.
Okay,
That's
so
where we paid-
that addresses 38 Spring Street. On the corner there, right? The old house with that used to be,
Used to be the Fry's house.
Chico Martin's.
yes, Chico's house. So it's 30, so for Sharon or Val, it's 38 Spring Street. Okay. Thank you, Joel. Peter.
Just in the line of trees, I had the conversation with Eric. We need to be prepared at some point, but the canopy is starting to come down. I notice a lot of places where when a big truck goes down a street that hasn't been down it in a while, they're hitting good sized limbs. And I've started looking up as I'm driving a dump truck, and like in front of Ron LaRosa's, there's limbs there that have got big marks in them from being hit. You know, they're 3-4 inch limbs. Same thing on Pine Street, same thing on Liberty Street. At some point, we're gonna have to do something with the canopy to get it
At a legal height.
at a legal height.
Okay. What have we done in the past regarding that? Do we trim it, or are we asking property owners?
No, that'd be on us.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in the right of way. It's in the, you know.
Eric, is that something that we would hire out to a professional that has equipment to get up that high?
Yeah, I've talked to Brett Sargent already about, you know, just potentially, you know, in a conversation, not actually telling him to do it, but just in a conversation about if he would be interested in taking like one road a year and trimming it back and the canopy. You know, if he'd be interested in doing something like that. And he said he would be. So.
I think it's something we're gonna have to think about budgeting for. That's the only reason I bring it up.
Okay. And to bring
my boss to go with a mirror.
Yeah, to go along with that, Peter, that actually happened yesterday. A truck was bringing them nighttime work lights, and he was going through on East Street, and he hit one of them limbs, broke the shield, the bulb.
Yeah.
The bulb was screwed up through the road, smashed him. I don't know how bad he smashed him, but
he definitely smashed him.
Oh, he definitely smashed him.
Okay. All right, so something to consider, maybe look at.
You know what?
For the...
This is happening is because we went away from the old tailgate sanders on the town trucks. So they used to drive around with a dump body up, so the limbs could never get grown down far enough where it was an issue. Now we have the side dump, so there's nothing, the bodies don't go up.
Okay.
It's just one of those things we're gonna deal with at some point.
Okay. Something for future. And also, you know, reach out. I mean, is this something we're also talking to property owners about too? Not that we're expecting them to do it, but letting them know that we're going to do it, so they're not surprised that part of their tree is missing.
I think it's probably not going to be a bad idea. I mean, you take a 4-inch limb off a tree, and it's going to be very noticeable.
Yeah. Okay. Is that something you want to discuss, Val, in a later meeting in terms of how we might do that, or is it something that Eric and you can work on offline?
At the very least, we can post a notice on Front Porch Forum.
Okay.
Especially if we have a better idea of a schedule.
I think, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, usually it's October, you and the guys drive around with the sidewalk plow and trim. Maybe that's a good time to at least get the major ones in there that are really right there, as you Peter said. By Reggie's, he's spoken to me about it.
That limb is
Right
it's
there.
got
You can
some
see where
pretty
it's
good
got
dings
chunk
on
out of
it.
it.
Yeah.
You know, and say, we can't do them all, because we don't have a budget enough, but we could do, maybe there's 5 or 6 really ones that got, like East Street, you said the guy, yeah, we gotta take it.
You're saying mark them down and then get a hold of Brett or somebody to go do it.
Within your budget, yeah, I guess so,
Okay.
but,
Yeah.
I mean, I think, am I
gotta
right, Peter?
notify them.
There's some that we gotta do,
Or
we couldn't get
discuss
another
it.
budget year.
At least let the
Yeah.
homeowners know. We're just
Well,
gonna
yeah.
take it down, yeah.
Yeah.
We're not taking the tree down, we're just putting it in a
Yeah, I
right
know,
of
but
way straight
still
up.
let them know.
Yeah,
Right,
just let
exactly.
them know they're gonna be trimming the tree.
Right, yep.
That's no big deal.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a good start, sort of identifying a few that we can do this year potentially, and then sort of continue that discussion, you know, in a broader way to be able to handle this. And as Peter said, you know, probably have it as a budget, a line item, to be able to, you know, go forward with this.
Yeah, because it's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
You know, they're the way some towns do it is a guy stands in the back of a dump body with a pole saw, and I don't want our guys doing that.
I hope that we're doing it with a hard hat.
Yeah, exactly.
Green Street and Waltham, they take the boom mower and they put it just as high as they can.
Oh, yeah.
And they come them.
They've been doing that down 116.
Yeah.
They were doing it in Washington last weekend too, so, yeah. I mean,
Okay,
That does not
will
sound
be doing
bullshit.
that. Yeah.
We in DC,
Okay.
Washington
Yeah,
State.
yeah,
Washington
Washington,
County.
Vermont.
Oh,
Washington
Washington.
County.
Town.
Okay. Anything else, Peeker?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay. And nothing from me this evening. All right. Val, Town Administrator's report.
No, I have nothing to add to my written report.
Okay. Other business correspondence reports. Correspondence received.
I have nothing to add to that.
Okay. I saw in your notes that you were talking about the tree being taken down in the park. John Swepson has done that. It's not there.
Oh, good.
I was curious whether it would be stump ground. And then Ray, my wife, said, "Kids love stumps. Leave that there." I said, "Okay." So it's good. And then my kids were playing on it. So I think that's a good place to leave that.
Valerie, just on Ian's making the note about the tree on the park. We haven't heard from the Emerald Ash Board Committee. Where are they at? With the trees on the park, there's some, and we haven't heard from them in quite some time.
Right. With Alex gone, it kind of lost momentum. However, members of that committee have been active in forming an ad hoc tree committee to focus on all of Bristol's trees, not just ash borer trees. I think we need to work with Eric and Meredith on identifying going back to the plan that the committee developed. I think they felt that their work was done.
Was anything done with the three that are on the park that we're trying to save?
I don't know the answer to that, but
I thought we were told they were inoculated.
oh, that's right.
They were. Okay.
Or at least one of them was.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right about
Yeah,
that.
our two down inoculated last month, and we're waiting to see how they turn out.
Yeah. And there are some ash trees on some of the parks that were identified as needing to come down. So I don't know the status.
They didn't
of
get
that.
their flu shots, or they didn't get their COVID shots.
Yeah.
I did see that we were awarded some money through the opioid settlement.
Correct.
Did we, if someone can help me remember, did we say what we were going to do with that money?
No, we were not asked of that question. What we had to do was fill out paperwork to be able to get it. There is extensive information in the settlement documents regarding how the money was expected to be used. This was way back in March, and I would need to go back and review what that language is. And I'm expecting that. And I also need to review whether we will continue to receive additional money each year for the next 10 and 18 years.
Yeah,
I seem to recall that, but I couldn't verify that for my update.
I saw that it said first year payment. I got excited about that.
Right. So I think, we're going to see another one over the next 10 years and additional over 18 years. But I have to, again, this was way back in March that I filled all that paperwork out. So I don't remember the details at this point.
There is a local group in Addison County called the Substance Use Treatment and Recovery Group.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of folks from Turning Point and the hospital and myself. I sit at that table. I think it might be nice to either hear from those folks what they might recommend or offer that money in some way to that group to support some of the work that those folks do.
Right.
Unless there's a need in our community that
Right. Bob Donis has been advocating for funds to be allocated to the Turning Point.
Right. I mean, it's not a tremendous amount. It's, $1,533.
Exactly.
Hopefully, it's, I wish it was more, but Bristol did receive, its allocation, and hopefully, as you guys said, hopefully that'll continue from year to year. But yeah, I'd like to have that discussion to see where we might potentially donate that to.
Right.
Yeah, it might also be interesting to talk to Mountain Health if they have a program that we could support that's local as well.
Right. That would be nice.
Yep.
Good suggestions. Okay. We know we had executive session. Michelle,
Correct.
would you care to do the honors?
And we would invite Bruce.
Bruce.
Okay.
Okay.
I make a motion that we enter executive session to discuss personnel and contract negotiations per 1 VSA section 313, and I invite Bruce to join us.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion carries. We're in executive session. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Hi,
Thanks,
Jay.
Thank you, Eric.
Bye,
Eric.
Bruce,
Eric, boy. Right, you'll see
Take that
some
drugs.
glass going good.
do I
Once you get his
have to put them in
permit,
here? Can I hand you a bottle?
And then Val, you can probably stop the recording, right?
Can I hand you a
I don't
bottle?
know.
You should be able to stop at the bottom. If you're a co-host, you should be able to just hit the stop
Oh, I
button.
see. Stop recording.
Yeah.